Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for episode 5 of Survivor 43. My name is Mike Bloom, here to, I suppose, send off the pre-merge of Survivor 43, or at least stop the first phase before the Pokemon evolution occurs and we go into the awkward middle stage, which is sure to happen next week at least. But we have a heck of an episode, and specifically a heck of a downfall to talk about. Though I don't know if it's a downfall if you've always kind of been on the bottom. More of a downfall, I guess, from like a mental perspective. But still a very fun episode to talk about as Gio and Ryan end up on the tail end of the biggest move of the season so far. And we have a great panel to break it down. A mighty three, much like the three that prevailed in Coco in this episode. Of course, my co-host of the B&B, Liana Boraas, I could go on and on about all the ways I love podcasting with her, but to do so, I'd probably have to take a significant pregnant pause like Carla did in the middle of Tribal Council.
No, I wanted to be Carla. If we're the three that prevail from Coco, I call Carla. I call her.
All right, well, I guess I better start, I don't know, smoking 3 packs a day so I can be like Horse James.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, then Peridium, you're Cassidy.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. She's Khaleesi. That's her handle on Instagram. I called her Khaleesi in my first video. She reached out to me and was like, "Where'd you find that really great photo of me that you used for my for your thumbnail?" And I was like, "Oh, I took that from your Instagram, actually."
Oh.
And you are the most stylish, I think. You certainly have the most stylish setup. Of course, yes, we are welcoming in Peridium here, someone who, unlike Gabler's Beads, is certainly not green when it comes to the B&B.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I will say I've been staying in a lot of B&Bs as of late, in the past month or so. Liana can attest to this. We actually, I hung out with her in Puyat about a week ago. It was really cool. But I was doing a lot of B&B travel throughout all of the Northeast, hit up all the states, and I saved the best for last, which is back in the comfort of my own home with you two.
All right, so then that begs the question. I don't want to, break down the states in the middle of a Survivor podcast, but I suppose it calls for it. What was the best state of the ones you perused? Now, I guess you were sort of seeing the experience through a B&B, so that is a little slighted, but we have to make an objective call from here.
It's tough because I spent the most time in Vermont, so that by default I have like the most to remember. And also we just drove through New Hampshire, but it was arguably the most beautiful to drive through. I love that. It was only for like half the day, but we stopped the most. So I would probably say Vermont if I had to pick, but New Haven, Connecticut's a close second.
I mean, yeah, thank you. Credit where credit is due. Come on, South Bay Mediterranean Grill.
Yeah.
All right, is that the shout out? Is that the official sponsor of the B&B, South Bay Mediterranean Grill?
I don't think they want to be affiliated with the B&B. Like, I'm just going to put it out there now. But obviously, yeah, Peridium, this is the best day you're going to have. So I'm happy that you were able to conclude with whatever mess you're going to have to encounter here. And we do clean up rules, so be prepared to check out bright and early and take the trash out before you do.
Yeah, sometimes they ask for a little. I'm like, we just gave you like so much money, and like we're the maids now. Like, what happened? Airbnb charges ridiculously amount for these little. I'm like, what?
And you're paying a cleaning fee too, so like, question mark? Well, we don't charge a cleaning fee, but we do make you clean up.
Because we have Gabler come through and clean everything up. He's the one who's, if he's backseat driving everyone else in the game, he's might as well be backseat driving the B&B, just making sure that everything's done. And we say, okay, why don't you do it yourself? And so he kind of like shuffles through because he's super low energy, kind of sweeps a couple of dust bunnies into a pan and then dawdles his way off.
I just went out to the back and grabbed a branch and put it on the bed and called it.
Yeah, no ants on it.
Yeah, no ants. That's fine.
I mean,
I guess we found out. We found out that ants were indeed a problem in a different way. Maybe Gabler didn't find the beware advantage because he saw a tree that was full of ants, and he's like, I can't go near there. The tribe would kill me if I brought anything ant covered back to them.
Yeah, much like the Big Brother house. Who knew that? Was it Baka that was covered in ants? So yeah, poor Janine being like, I just want to open this.
Poor Janine, in many ways, she really is like the Murphy's Law of Survivor, the David Murphy's Law at this point, right? We're like, first she has the cut on her chin, then she's covered in ants, then she might have lost her vote, then she didn't, then she did lose her vote. For what I would call maybe the most purple person that's been on the show so far this season, a crap ton of stuff has happened to her.
That's what I told Puya. I was like, she forced her way onto the show. She was like, damn it, I will get screen time.
It begs the question. I want to bring this up because I was actually talking with Shannon Gus about this offline, and she offered up this perspective of, is Survivor 43 the least engaged a modern Survivor season has been from a fan perspective? What do we think about that? Do you think that's true, and why? Does it have anything to do with the quality of the season or the cast?
Are you saying you think the cast has been the least like fan heavy, like super
Or I
fan?
would say, like,
Or
if you
us
check,
fans
yeah, like
are
I
not
think
engaged.
Liana's point, yeah, I think if you go on to like Twitter, there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about from 8 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday. But outside of that, how much Survivor chatter is going on, and how does that compare to, I guess, other seasons as of late?
Yeah, I could kind of understand that. It feels, I guess, it feels a little more tame on the Survivor community streets. I have noted that. I've always felt like for the last five episodes now that this is sort of like the hype isn't super hyped, but it's not. I think this is a decent season so far.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in how this is going to play out coming up in episode 6. I actually kind of wish we had one more episode in the pre-merge, because I would think no matter who goes now, it could be maybe the Ryan boot would be a little boring if Coco went again. I think they'd probably pick him off, but yeah, maybe not. But I was like, I really want to see Vessi and Baka go to Tribal Council with all these little toys in their pockets. I guess, yeah, to some extent, it's not incredibly like amped up online, but yeah, I guess so. I could see that. Of the previous 3, I mean, 41 was like people were super excited just because it was back on the air. That
Right.
like, and they could have given us like any episode. I think people would have just been like chomping and just.
Imagine if there was no season 41. It was just like, okay, here's the best up. Here's the Rice Wars episode. Here's
Oh,
the
yeah,
Grindgate episode, and
Oh,
everyone's like,
no.
we want Survivor.
Yeah, and then 42 I think was definitely a lot more livelier for whatever reason. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think in terms of the fandom and the online sort of, I don't know,
Hubbub.
fervor, hubbub. Yeah, sure. The online hubbub. I think it's tough when you're coming off of a Big Brother season where the online
Yeah.
hubbub is very hubbubby, and they're like everywhere and loud and everywhere.
If I'm ever
and
on
there's
Survivor,
Twitter
I'm
Spaces.
going to insist a merge tribe is called Hubbubby.
Hubbubby. Ah, yes, it's Fijian for love.
Husband.
For hugs. So I think that's tough because it definitely feels like very much a cool down, but we just had an insane Big Brother season, right? And so we're sort of in my head, I'm comparing it to that, maybe not even necessarily 41 and 42. So I think that makes it feel a little bit more muted. Additionally, I think a reason why it could feel that way is because the pre-merge did feel like a little bit samey. Like we had for Coco, for example, like set up Geo being on the outs for literally 5 weeks. And now it finally happens. The Lindsay vote was just like completely out of nowhere. So we couldn't really be prepared for that. So it was more just like a shock factor. Whereas the tribes that I think now, as Peridia mentioned, would be really interesting to see are those where the dynamics are not so clear cut. And so as much as I don't want to lose anybody on those tribes, I would absolutely love to see them go to tribal council because I think it would be complete chaos.
The timing is a fantastic point. It's always tough for fall Survivor seasons, right? Because Big Brother is such an investment-heavy show. Even if you're not watching the feeds, it's still 3 hours a week as well. And so you find yourself just mentally putting yourself into that 12-week marathon. And then you go sometimes almost immediately. In this case, before the season even finished, we were going into Survivor. And so it's a little tough to do from a reality TV perspective. Even from a Survivor perspective, only a few weeks beforehand, we had this rapid smattering of a Survivor South Africa season, right? Which did 24 episodes in 6 weeks. That was a really great season, a really high quality returnee season, but also like all Survivor all the time. And I do think coming out of essentially like, putting your head down and like, it's almost like studying for a test, right? Where you're like, cramming for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And then like you can finally step out into the sunlight, take in some vitamin D, and like your brain is kind of foggy and you may not be like incredibly into doing anything because your energy levels have like sort of beveled out now that the adrenaline spike has worn off. I sort of feel like that's the thing that's happening right now as just a reality TV fan. I think a bit of it might also come from the sameness of it. Now, that being said, like I really enjoyed a lot of stuff that came from this episode. But of course, they are pastiches of things we've seen in the past, right? Like Ryan, even though he doesn't end up getting voted out, has such big Drew Christie energy. And I'm going to single-handedly throw the challenge in order to vote this one person out who's dangerous to my game. It was still really fun to watch. I think so far, to go back to a point you made, Peridium, I would describe this season as like solid but unmemorable would probably be a good way to think about it. I think there are like
so rude.
High praise.
That being said, though, I'd much rather have this type of thing than again like a season where we're like coming back bagging on it.
Oh well,
right.
Yeah,
I know. I know that.
I'm kind of looking at like the previous 2 seasons right now, and up to this point, we did have like the crazy Jenny getting taken out. This would have been Daniel getting voted out this week, and then going into that, there was a lot of stuff to talk about. I think in 41 we had Ua like pretty much every episode, and that was really the Shan and Ricard show, and even then the Shan show, and she was just finessing, everyone. We had her getting JD out, the 3-person tribal council, which is I always find those tribal councils to be some of the most interesting ones to figure out, like, what are they going to do? And there's only 3 of them and nobody can hide. And I find that very compelling. Some of my favorites were like the Mat Singh from Philippines, or even Oolong and Palau. And this one, it's been very steady Eddie. It's like, we're back to Coco again after seeing Vessi go back. And I was really thinking, it'd be kind of cool to see Vessi go again, because there's 4 people and they've got this 2v2, but now there's like an idols in play. And then all of a sudden Jesse does this ridiculous thing by losing his vote. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? And then Baka is just... I said it on Twitter, I'm like, I don't want them to go back because I really enjoy their dynamic, but I also want them to go back because I want to open up this can and see what's inside. Like,
well, now we get to. That's the thing is like I very much agreed that like I want to shake this soda can up as much as possible so that it finally lets loose at the merge. Because the great thing is now they have the plurality, right? Technically, we don't know what's happening next week, but right now it's 5-4-4. Baka has the 5. Baka. Of all things. And
Baka.
like it sort of is a bit like Tandang from the aforementioned Philippines, right? Where like they come in with the numbers, but they are splintered so much. And so I think it's a fun opportunity. Let me amend what I said previously. I think while perhaps maybe some of the results and some of like the events may have been like a bit more low key, what I really am enjoying is like the actual mess of the people playing. Like you just have to look at the fact 3 people go to sack Sandbar or whatever it was this episode after they overshot it and had to row all the way back for whatever reason.
Pointless pontoon.
Yeah, pointless pontoon. I love that. And so you have Jesse, who's like, well, I saw what happened, how Dwight, after he lost his vote, like couldn't do anything. I think I'm going to risk my vote. You have Janine, who says, well, I almost lost my vote earlier this day. I think I could risk my vote this time. And then Gio, who's like, I'm definitely on the bottom and I'm going to risk my vote, but I'm actually on the top, but I'm actually going to risk my vote. Like, I love kind of the weird thinking of this entire season, which is odd because, like, again, a lot of the boots themselves have been relatively straightforward in terms of reasoning, especially when you look back to, like, Mariah and NECA, for example. That was very much like keeping the tribe strong. But for whatever reason, the people that are staying in the game are just making these cockamamie decisions based on whatever logic they have. And what I love about it is that the logic is so like umbrella-like. It seems to exist in the blood of pretty much everybody playing. And that makes it really fun for me, where there aren't really a lot of like straight people to balance out the crazy. Everyone's a little crazy this season.
It gives me very much like survivor strategy edging, if I can say that. It's like because there's so much crazy going on, right? But none of it's really coming to fruition in the actual votes themselves. The votes themselves are as you said, Mike, relatively straightforward, yet somehow there's all of this like cockamamie strategy that's going on, behind the scenes, especially Baka, right? And so, like, I want to see that actually play out, and I feel like I'm being teased and teased and teased, and I really want it to happen, but it's not happening yet.
Man, that's either like the best or worst partner you can have, right? Is someone that's like, I'm gonna make sure it doesn't wait until the merge.
Okay, so that being said, though, we're having a merge.
Yeah,
we're having something. We're having some sort of like.
Okay, wait.
We're having some sort of, I think, summit happening.
You think a
Peridium, do you
summit.
have any theories as
I
to
haven't
what
heard the
might be
word
happening?
summit thrown out. I'm curious now because you say summit in the context of Survivor. I start going in a different direction. But when you say summit, do you mean like they're coming together for the first time, but not necessarily? We don't know. I was thinking based on the screen grab we got from the next time on that we're gonna have 13 players divided into two groups and sort of like 41 and 42. I could see one player in the middle being maybe exiled or something, having some kind of power.
Sent to Rock
Yeah.
Rock.
Something,
Right.
yeah, there you go. Erica's escapade. I don't know what you want to call it, some alliteration, you know. I could
That's who
see that,
goes.
and then all of a
Eraka.
sudden, I feel like they're gonna do a challenge. One tribe. Actually, no. Are they supposed to do a double boot? I've heard rumored that it could be a double boot, which would make
Yeah,
sense.
which makes sense because I think a lot of the weirdness happening here, right, is the merge at 13, which we've never had in an 18-person season before. Very strange. The only reason I would think of it would be to go along with what you're saying, if it is indeed like two groups of 6 and one person in the middle. I would love it then if they just do like an individual challenge, sort of like what they do when they have done the tribe divisions beforehand, right? Of like you're all competing individually, and so we have like one individual immunity winner, but both groups go to tribal council there. That's going to be a bit jam packed for only an hour, unless they're expanding it across 2 episodes. I'm not entirely
Mm.
sure, but yeah, that's what I think that is actually we're sort of on the same page with it. By summit, I meant not the idea of like we're gonna sit around and eat peanut butter and jelly with the Gen Xers, but this idea of they're going to like all meet each other and have like a social gathering, and
Mm.
then they're going to be separated into these 2 groups. I don't think it's going to be something, at least from the next time on, it doesn't seem like they're going to go to a challenge and then it immediately gets split up. It seems like they're going to be brought to one continuous beach, get together, and then Jeff's going to be like, one more twist for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he does say like one final twist, which I thought was
Yeah.
an interesting way to describe it because it tells me that there's probably other twists and this is the last thing. So he's got something else prepared at the last second on top of whatever else is supposed to be happening in the first place, which we don't know. So I'm like, okay, like kind of how it was like you guys are in 2 different groups, and then last final thing, one of you is like gonna have the power to completely change the game or something like that. I know we're not getting the hourglass. Jeff has said that. I'm just trying to think of like what it could be. This is definitely one of the more interesting parts of the show right now for the modern era. Like, what is Jeff thinking about, and how does he make this the most interesting like entrance into the middle half of this season? Jeff's Funhouse. We'll see what we get, but so far it's been a little bit rocky. With I know most people don't love the hourglass. We're not getting it back. I am very curious to see on top of the dynamics of these players and how it's going to manifest itself. We have like so many advantages and idols and lost votes. And then of course Jeff's there and he's just going to want to take all the spotlight as much as he can. So it's going to be a lot. If it's in 1 hour, like, yeah, I don't know if we're even going to get like a tribal council per se. It could be a to be continued. I kind of wish it was more like 42 and less of 41 where we had a boot because I don't love the to be continueds.
Yeah.
So, and if it's like 2
the
boots,
the real
that's
love
a
boat
lot.
must persist, Peridium.
Oh
We're not going to
my
take a week
God.
off.
Oh jeez. My wife and I watch The Amazing Race and we just have like nothing to do for an hour. Oh, we
Yeah.
just sit on the sofa
Yeah.
and just don't move. We stay in the wedge that we formed.
Just imagine you click on the TV and just stare into
We
space
just mute.
for
wait.
60 minutes.
we don't watch it. I don't know. It's not for us.
Oh man. So I did go back and I just watched the previously or the next time on Survivor. So definitely split up into 2 groups. They are all standing together. First the women, then the men with no buffs on, and then there's 2 mats, the blue and the red mat. So they are definitely being split in some way. What I don't know, maybe I made this up. I swear to God, I heard it somewhere. But they Jeff loved the idea, or production loved. Again, could be made up, but they love the idea of the earn your way to the merge.
Yeah.
So if something like that is continuing, we still have an odd number of players though, right? So even if we do have an earn your way to the merge, then maybe that group is indeed actually safe, but then something else happens with the non, at-risk players or the at-risk players.
Maybe we have the 12 compete. The one person gets sent to Iraka, and instead of getting the hourglass, they get the knowledge is power, and it says on the
Oh
bottom,
my God.
please, for the love of God, play this correctly. We need this to happen once.
We're
It's
trying
you cannot
so
tell
hard.
you cannot tell anyone about this advantage. That's
Please,
like the
don't tell Carla for no
Yeah.
particular reason, but don't bring it up to Carla.
That's the new rule at the bottom
yeah.
in fine print. Do not tell Carla.
Well, yeah, on that note, let's talk a bit about this episode, taking it back from the future to the present. Because, again, while it's been done before, I always love a good downfall episode of Survivor. I know that certainly in my speaking with Gio as well as others, he has, I think, tried to walk some stuff back about whether or not he truly was as confident as he was coming across. But from the character perspective of Gio, and especially of Ryan, who golly, I loved Ryan this episode. Talk about the dodo edit, perhaps to end all dodo edits. You know, him single-handedly, literally with one hand, throwing a challenge to get out his closest ally, and then him trying to put on a performance in which he suggests that he be the decoy boot as well. This is just, again, messiness for no sake whatsoever. And I love it because, again, coming in, I thought Ryan was just going to be our, like, solid, resilient, Rupert Ozzy-esque camp provider. But, you know, I think this proves that, especially in modern day Survivor, even those types between the Brads and the Ryans are still going to create whatever form of gameplay they want to make.
Do we like it more that Gio went, or would it have been better for the episode if Ryan had been taken out at the hands of all of his machinations, throwing the challenge, asking for votes? Nobody sets themselves up as the decoy. Like, this is like giving me, what was it, Sierra on Cambodia, where she's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna flip everything. And I'm like, this is the exact opposite. It's giving us Drew Christie, a little bit of Zane Knight from Survivor Philippines, the first boot, asking to get voted out, but then whoops, not really, but then really. So I just wonder, like, would it have been even more satisfying if Ryan, or is it better because we get to keep watching Ryan? Now he is for sure on the bottom. He is outnumbered. He's going in. He's probably want to be one of those rogue votes at this merge thing. Probably the first to flip. I have to imagine. Maybe not. I don't know. I was just like, would it have been a better episode if we lost? Like, what if Drew survived San Juan del Sur? That's what I think about. I don't know.
I think in terms of a one episode arc, obviously it's better if Ryan goes, right? Because it's the immediate payback of he threw the challenge and wanted to get all the votes and had this like bad acting, right? All of that is like so beautiful if he ends up going home. However, for a multiple episode arc, I think it's more interesting that he stays because now he is the one who threw the challenge, got the votes on him, and then failed. What does he do next, right? Because now you're having this player who was so confident, now having to figure out how to scramble and how to try to figure something out with his closest ally being gone and the plan completely backfiring. So I think it could be more rewarding in the long term, but that one episode, I think Ryan going would have been just so poetic.
Well, I think what helps, though, is now we get the chance for a sequel, right?
Yeah.
Now, with Gio staying, Gio certainly wanted to play big and play hard. He said as much in his final words. But, like, I don't think even Gio, in fact, Gio told me, he's like, if I had known Ryan was going to throw that challenge, I would have said no. Yeah. Ryan is the one who has the wherewithal to go off on his own and be like, oh, I'm going to biff this challenge. Cassidy's got to go right here, right now. And then to come back and be like, all right, shine up that Oscar, people at home. It's time to put in the performance of a lifetime. Get the crocodile tears out. I love that everything stemmed from Ryan in terms of what he was doing to the point where James says, oh, nice cutting down the tree. He's like, you better like shit all over me right now. I want you to bully me. Like, make it really believable. And so I really like, to your point, Liana, the idea of him staying, because like, if this is how Ryan spins him thinking he's comfortable when he's not, what is he gonna do when he's not comfortable?
I have no idea what
he's gonna make a final 2-pact with Gabler.
I mean,
they're gonna run the table.
Oh my God, could you imagine? Oh my God.
I almost can. Maybe we don't have to imagine soon.
If it's the Gabler, Ryan, Cody final 3, I think everyone just sort of burns the parchment and says,
the essence of all 3
tribes
tribes come together. The Gabler and the Cody and the Ryan of it all. That's the final 3 we overlooked. There you go.
Ugh, we should have known. Yeah, I think that, the fact that we are getting this like merge, pseudo merge, whatever you want to call it, I think that it does damper it perhaps a little bit, because we're going to see him have to deal with the immediate aftermath of coming back from tribal. But then, a next cycle really isn't going to happen because we're going to have this, faux merge, whatever. So unfortunately, I feel like it is cut a little bit short, but I do think that he's still going to have to face the ramifications of everything that happened, but then he's going to have some more crazy players to play with. So maybe it will make it more chaotic.
Gabler's like, oh, heard what you did. I love that idea.
And Gabler, who has an idol, you mean?
Yeah,
Who's
Gabler.
immune?
All right, let's do a quick rundown here. We'll sort of, preview, I guess, Prydium's battle mapping that I think he's going to set up here for the not merge.
We'll see. I'm like, what are we getting by the end of the episode? If we don't get if nobody's voted out, I'm going to have to wait a week.
Yeah.
That's true,
simple.
actually, as well. We're going to have to check in as to, will an elimination happen this week on Survivor? We'll see. So we have, I guess we'll start off with the votes category, because Justine and Jesse do not have any, but
Right.
Justine does have an idol. So does
Okay.
Carla. So does Cody. We also have Gabler, who has an idol that is only good for the next tribal council he attends. And assuming no matter what sort of the consequences are, he's going to show up in some form unless he gets sent to Araka. Sounds like now I'm talking about him being sent off to some country, deployed somewhere. But if he gets sent there, that once again pushes things out where maybe he misses out on that tribal council. This thing has been like an absolute four-leaf clover for this man.
To think the idol that was definitely supposed to expire pre-merge makes it all the way several episodes into merge would just be so funny to me.
He gets it at the final 18 and he takes it all the way to the final 11, maybe?
Yeah, that's wild. That's absolutely wild. A very Gabler-esque sort of immunity, if you will. He's just chaotic all over the place. So is the idol. Yeah, I think so that's the case. Is there anything else that we're missing in terms of advantages? No, Geo went out with the knowledge is power, so that's theoretically back in circulation. So we'll see if that ends up back or if it's just dead.
We'll see if a merge idol is hidden. Last season, it was only found after Marianne and Drea played theirs, so it's possible that they may want to hang out. There's 3 idols in the game right now, 4 technically if you count the 4-leaf clover. Let's wait until these things get played. I certainly hope that's the case. Maybe, just maybe, there will be something under the bench. We know they check a bunch of times. I don't know if that'll happen next episode. So I think that's the map of things at the moment. The interesting thing will be, depending on who's vulnerable, how that's all going to come into play. And the most interesting, I think, in my opinion, is Justine not having a vote, but having an idol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she can protect herself, but she can't vote.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Noelle has the vote steal, right?
Oh, yeah, Novell has
right.
steal a vote as well, yeah.
Steal a vote? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can she?
Mm-hmm.
Can you steal? If you can't, they don't have a vote and you don't know that, and you write their name down. Is it just
I think you get a no vote, right?
You just stole no vote.
Yeah, you stole a no vote.
This was spoken about. I really
Stole
hope it
nothing.
would be I wish that Jeff would be keep a straight face, okay, then Noelle, go up to the voting booth. And then it turns out it's 2 no vote slips or something like that. I think what happens is, because you have to declare that you're stealing someone's vote prior to going up to the voting booth, I think then, unfortunately, a la Chanel and Mike, Jeff has to kind of be the party pooper. Why do I always have to be the unfun parent and be like, okay, Jesse, do you have a vote that can be stolen? I think, unfortunately, then that has to come up. There's not a lot of intrigue that happens. It has to come out in the wash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Fine. I don't like it, but fine.
Yeah, I'd rather they sure just steal nothing.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like we're
love
gonna
that.
have a combustion with all of this happening, and then it's this a merge. It's almost like a one-off swap. I think like they used to do for one episode. So yeah, this is why I was really interested to see what's going to happen with all this. There's a lot of toys in play. Gabler's one off. Noelle's got a vote steal. Cody an idol. It's the spread is just set up. There's a powder keg. It's going to go off.
I love the description of toys, because Gabler has the G.I. Joe that's so dirty and muddy from being kept around for years and years, but he's it's still good. I could still use it. It's still
It's a
toy.
collectible.
There's still the plot line that came into this episode of, does Gabler even know? And they're no, he doesn't know, but he does know, and half the tribe knows he knows, but the other half the tribe doesn't know that he knows. What does Gabler know? I
Oh
don't know.
gosh, what does he know? Yeah,
Is
that's
that going
so
to be a
wild.
plot point? I
Let's
feel like that
find
might come
out.
up
It
again.
must. It must.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Ellie and Justine still don't know that he knows that the idol works, like, I mean, that's gonna come out somewhere, unless I guess Owen says something. I mean, I don't think Sammy would. Sammy seems like very much on the other side against them. So I guess it would come down to Owen, or if it somehow gets out, with whomever the split is with, I suppose. But
I don't know. It feels like Sammy. Sammy seems to me like a cartoon. Like this is the Bugs Bunny characters, like the really short gangster with the big hat and like his big doofy sidekick. That's kind of Sammy and Gabler. Where like Sammy wants to work with Gabler and trust Gabler, but I feel like he is so begrudgingly doing it every episode of like, well, Gabler just gave his beat away. I guess I better tell him we gave Janine an idol. Like, it seems every scene we get is him sighing, be like, I made my bed. I guess I gotta lie with the ants at this point and work with Gabler.
It's Pinky and the Brain. That's like what I
yeah.
get, especially because like I don't remember. I think it was one confessional where Sammy is standing like this. He's like got his hands like this, and he's standing in front, like like this weird like evil hand gesture.
The tenting, yeah, the
tenting, the finger tenting. I don't. He intrigues me. I'm so curious to see more of Sammy. Like I really want to see more of him play because I think he wasn't what casting expected. And this is me completely imprinting on them of like, I think it's like, oh, you got this 19-year-old pet cremator. Like, what a wacky character. And he's like, no, I am the most serious in all of these things.
Yeah.
That's just very surprising to me. I love it.
That's happened sometimes, though. Like, I feel like Will Wall and Michael Yerger were both, like, very serious. Now, for Michael, I think at least maybe it was the circumstances that he was, like, continually getting kicked when he was down, that he was not necessarily having a lot of fun. And maybe it's the deep voice on Will, but I do feel like, I agree. And I think the finger tenting came with this rare shot of Sammy. We don't get a lot of
he was like against a tree, like standing on a tree.
Yeah, we usually get, we get to 12 o'clock. Sammy was at about like a 1, maybe a 2 with him leaning up against the tree. It was a real rare position for him.
It was a unique confessional spot. Usually they're quite up close and it looks all set up. And his was just like slightly in a distance. Like they were like twice as far away from the usual distance between the player and the producer. But yeah, it was like interesting. It's very casual and he's just kind of talking. I've had a difficult time pinning like how Sammy's gonna fare this season, but I feel pretty good about him so far. He's surprised me a lot. I usually don't feel too great about the younger players, the 18 and 19-year-olds of Survivor. They tend to have this sort of like they want to prove themselves a little bit. And I don't know, I kind of get that a little bit with Sammy too, but he's done a great job. Maybe it's just because he's on Baka, and Baka is just all over the place that it doesn't really matter. And like the lying about being 22 is just I still laugh at that thought of like that mattering at all. I'm like, I'm way past those years, and I'm like, yeah, that really doesn't make a difference. As somebody who's not 19 or 22 anymore, it really doesn't matter. But I love his relationship with like the Pinky and the Brain comparison with Gabler, and the whole like we gave her an idol, and it's like a fake idol. No, we gave her a real idol. We gave her a real idol. And it's just like the cogs are turning.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll defend Gabler here. Like, yes, I know that we love to make fun of this man, and like lovingly so. He's a really fun character, but like, again, this was something new to this season, right? I think they were all expecting challenge phrases, or if not that, at least like something similarly visible in mixed company with everybody. If I was there and someone's like, oh, can I get everyone's beads? I wouldn't be like, clearly they're making an immunity idol bracelet, a never before seen piece of jewelry found on the show. No, Janine, you can take my green, but this yellow will stay with this fellow.
Okay, Dr. Seuss. I think for me, the fact that they gave them so many beads on their bags seemed to facilitate everybody making bracelets, because it was like Coco, they were also making like, oh yeah, I made a bracelet for my daughter, or like I think Baka did the same thing. Like Gabler was already making bracelets, so it just felt like part of the way that people were behaving. So I don't think it really stood out. But now that we've seen it 3 times, right? So we've seen all of the Beware idols be found. We've seen all 3 beads be collected. Prettium, what are your feelings on this style of Beware Advantage / idols?
I enjoy it more. than the wacky
Okay,
phrases
get out.
personally.
Kick him
Oh,
out.
interesting.
Get him out of
Well, you
here.
guys don't. Wow,
How
I didn't.
dare
I
you?
could-
I love the phrases.
The
You're
phrases
as
are
baked as a potato in a mailbox.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I get it, and I like it. Maybe it's because it's novel. The beads are novel. I was a
Yeah.
fan of like the whole interplay of getting the people together, and you got to sort of fool them, but it requires a little bit of like it's like the Tony extortion on Winners at War, but not as extreme. The stakes aren't as high. I like that when it gets the players to kind of have to work together, but there's a bit of subterfuge underneath it. It reminds me of like Big Brother Canada with like their secret tasks, where it's like it looks like this, but it's actually something very different or whatever. The phrases were interesting. I don't know, maybe it's just because it was 2 straight seasons of it. They were funny. There was a lot of great jokes, a lot of good
But
content
it was
made of that.
obvious, right? Like I think
Yeah,
that's
I-
the problem.
Yeah.
Is that it was, and with the knowledge is power combined, it just made for a really crappy situation because it was like, well, we all know who's gonna
Well,
win.
the
Right.
phrase the phrases helped with comedy, right? Of
Yeah.
like having Xander be like, "It's just like what I said. Sometimes butterflies are just dead relatives saying hello." Like the fact it was so nonsensical, and then you have Brad's little green broccoli hair line, like completely biffing line, or Mike's, "I have something to say," completely naturally. There was a lot of fun to be had there, but I liked what these like represented for the characters. I would say. I know that Dalton Ross went back to the well this week of like it should have been a different task every time. I still nix that. I say giving them a different task every time just like feels like it's really unbalancing the scales and just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really
Yeah, I
making
agree.
completely cockamamie. Again, I really enjoyed how each and every tribe took it differently here, including
Right.
Baka does it a bit differently than Vessi, which had Cody go to NECA and Jesse and say, "Help me." Here,
Mhm.
Janine does it with like Owen and with Ellie, but like they don't help her with
Mhm.
it. And I also loved how it got involved as well, where like, you know, Ellie ends up passing it along to Sammy, who like stands and folds his arms as all this is happening, and they're able to dupe Gabler as the final person, and then they find out about it. The one thing that sucks about it is I do agree that luckily it wasn't as public with Knowledge is Power, and luckily Knowledge is Power is done so at this point.
Well,
What
Well,
does
yeah.
kind of suck is that when they get to merge, not a merge, whatever, and you know, everyone knows, the Vessi people know that Cody has an idol, the Baka people know that Jean has an idol, and they see a bracelet around Carla's wrist, and then Coco is gonna be like, "Oh, you had an idol, you took the beats from us, and you didn't tell us." I feel like that's gonna be kind of a sucky way to blow her game up due to circumstances that were really out of her control.
You don't think that she'll hide it?
yeah, I was gonna say, do you think she has to wear it?
I mean, do you think she'll have to like, yeah, maybe she'll
Oh, that's a
know
good
to keep it in her bag or something, or
Well, I
I
think
don't know.
then what'll happen is like, would someone say, "Oh, how did you know, if Janine plays her idol? Oh, how'd she get that? Oh, she collected beads from all of us. I wonder who on Coco had collected
yeah.
beads over the course
Yeah.
of the day."
Yeah, the conversation's definitely going to be easily like if you want to find out, just ask, and it's like you'll be able to figure out, okay, what's going on with the beads. I feel like almost so like everyone on Baka knows about the beads, everyone on Vessi
Yep.
knows about the beads, and then only Carla on Coco knows about the beads.
Yeah, I don't
think.
know if Dwight and Noel know about the beads.
Oh, you're right. Dwight and Noel
It
don't
seems,
know
it seems like
yet
at least
that we
from
know.
what we've seen on camera, only Jesse and Cody are in the know about the beads.
Okay. So
even-
again, like the way that they split these groups up could make it all over the place with like who knows what. And I do think like the phrases, it was out in the open, mostly from everyone the moment they started saying it. I don't remember how it ended up panning out come the merge or whatever.
I think at the
So-
merge there were, I remember distinctly in 42, like Mike and Marianne and Drea did have some conversations. That's where that sort
Right.
of like super majority alliance got cobbled together initially, right? Of like, okay, like we all know who each other are. We all know who has the idols. Like, let's look out for each other to a certain extent.
I think it takes up more time, which I did. The first time I watched this episode when it aired, I was a little bit like yada yada yada. Like we've seen the beats twice now. Whereas with the phrases, it was a lot faster. It was funnier. It didn't take up as much time, which I kind of prefer. I prefer to spend more time like with the players talking and whatnot than like following productions like fun little roller coaster ride they've set up. Which in the case of the that's how I look at it. Like they've given you
Oh, it's like
instructions.
Roller
You
Coaster
get in.
Tycoon.
Yeah, you strap in, and it's like, what are we gonna get? Sometimes you get Brad screwing it up, or you get Marianne going on a long tangent. Or you get Nasir with the flashback and he's coming out.
Mhm.
Like that was pretty fun. It didn't hit as hard with Cody's beads situation at at that tribal council. I felt like I was like, okay, we're getting a flashback, another flashback. Okay, but Cody's surviving, so I didn't really play any. He just got the idol. Okay. So in this case, it's like it's cool to see all the tribes handle it differently. The information is all over the map as far as who has it. It did take more time though, which is the con. I feel like I don't necessarily need a lot of. It's like I kind of got sick of finding the idol hunts on Survivor. It's like you've seen
Right.
10, you've seen 30, you've seen all of them at some point. You can only have the players like Mike Holloway fist pumping and doing a dance, so often. So it's like, all right, how many more times can we watch players find beads? We're gonna do it again probably next season.
Yeah.
We'll see what we get. Probably not gonna be. So maybe by 44, I'll be wishing we had the phrases back.
Yes.
We'll see.
It's an interesting point though that with the beads, it was like an idol hunt but with an extra step because we still had time
Yeah.
of people looking in the trees, but now there's an extra task attached to what you find in the trees.
Yeah, an idol hunt plus then a collect the beads, right? And I think that
The montage again.
yes,
The third
exactly.
time.
Again, what was that one episode with? I feel like Brad was at the focal point in 41 where it was just nothing but reading the same clue over
Yeah,
and
one of my
over
least
again.
favorite
It was-
episodes in Survivor.
it was
Yeah, that was the
horrible.
one that everyone bagged on. Yeah, the one where
Yeah.
it was her and him and Tiffany and Sydney, right, went to the the
yes.
sanctuary and they did the whole prisoner's dilemma thing, but then they each had to read the same parts where they have like, you must sneak away in the dead of night. And then Brad ends up getting voted out at the end of the episode.
Well, and that does make me wonder if like Janine had actually found the idol maybe a couple days earlier and they had just edited it into this episode because
thought
to
that.
spread out the beads of it all.
I know they talked about this on the know-it-alls. I'm really intrigued. When I talked with Lindsay about it, because I asked her about the beads last time, it seems like Carla did indeed do it over the course of one day, which, again, to me seems suspect, but I guess, again, to still continue to defend Gabler, like, if I was playing Survivor and I had no idea that people were collecting beads to form an immunity infinity gauntlet, essentially, I would be none the wiser to it. So I would imagine it would probably have happened. I guess it would. Yeah, I don't know. Because Baka was certainly not, depleted of certainly any material. It feels like Baka is maybe the tribe we know the most about going into this not merge, despite the fact they've only been to tribal council once.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like the idea of the Infinity Gauntlet. What was the twist from the very beginning of 42 where it was like they each got the bracelet and then if they voted people out, it like became more
advantage
powerful?
amulet.
Yeah, the advantage amulet. Yeah, it would be cool if this also had something like that where it's like if you get all the beads.
I wonder if the producers
Supremely-
didn't like the amulet. They didn't bring it back. I was a little bit because
Yeah,
I kind of enjoyed the thought of it. At least it didn't really pan out.
Yeah, it's a little confusing to remember. Like, I like on paper the logistics of, okay, if you have 3 and you play it, it's this. If you have 2 and you play it, it's this. But I know for me, it was like difficult. It was like a long division, right? Like that was the remainder. It's the number that remains. Okay,
Yes.
but if they get rid of them and then they play this, like the only reason why it really became so easily later on, I was like, oh, okay, Lindsay has an idol now because Dre ended up getting voted out after High. I think it's tough to figure into the calculus of everything when there are all 3 people left in the game. I like the idea. I just wonder if it was more short term. Maybe if it was like presented at the merge or something instead of at the very beginning of the game.
It's new math, Mike. New math.
No, I'm lamenting the time until luckily my son only knows how to count up to like 20 with no division yet. I would lament. Hopefully our world gets nuked at this point where like I won't have to teach him new math.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So you're just covered on your fingers and toes, and then complete total world destruction is your second.
Yeah,
plan.
well, and then we'll all be mutants at that point. So like,
you have more
20
toes.
fingers and toes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good.
Well, let's get into talking about Geo here. We'll move subjects, I guess, from math to geography. So Geo was an interesting person.
Geometry?
Geometry as well, which is a facet. Because Geo was not in great shape to do well in this season, it seems, considering the way that he went out. And apparently the fact that he has been on the bottom since the beginning. Actually, before we even get to Geo, I guess I'll reveal something that came out in a couple
on the bottom
of
since casting.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So Lindsay, in my interview with her last week, I asked her, why was Geo such a big target? She brought up how the first challenge, right, he pushed the box, he was having trouble. But the second one was, I can't reveal the other reason. That's Geo's story to tell. I mean, sort of not really, because the story is that not even something that Gio did. It's a reason why Lindsay targeted Gio. Lindsay targeted Gio because he was an alternate. Apparently, there was someone else out on set in the preseason who, for one reason or another, was not able to participate. Gio ends up stepping in and, like, shrewd AF Lindsay steps in first hour, first day, like, all right, last in, first out. Am I right?
I don't think I've ever heard of that being used before. Like,
So Candace Cody is the one exception,
you're
right?
right, Candace, Blood versus
uh,
Water.
and that's a little different. Returning players, they might be more sabai to it. But yeah, that was the infamous reason why Candace got voted out during that first impressions thing, is because she wasn't there throughout the entire preseason.
Yeah, that's a little. I also would say it's a little different. And with new players, I don't think I guess I've ever heard this, but did he reveal that to his tribe, or did they just know? I'm curious
They must
to
have
know.
known. They probably didn't see him, right? They probably saw somebody else, and then all of a sudden, this guy showed up, right? Because they're like at Ponderosa.
They had like an
doing
alternate
stuff.
tent in the corner.
Yeah, well, Ponderosa too.
I mean, what I will say is, like, alternates, as someone who has been out there for preseason and stuff, like, alternates are around, but they're not, like, usually
They were like bags on their
part-
heads. No.
yeah, part of, like, the main stuff. Yeah, they have their identities obscure. They have to wear, there's, like, the Masked Singer. They have to wear outfits the entire time.
Oh,
The
okay.
othering of the alternates.
And I
Yeah,
would
that's
imagine,
wild.
though, and like, when they got to the beach, there was probably, like, some idol chit-chat, right? Not about idols, but, like, oh, what did you get on the show? How'd you get on, et cetera, et cetera. And Gio probably said something along the lines of, like, oh, yeah, I was, I just randomly applied, and they gave me a call, like, oh, can you show up and be an alternate? And here I am. And Lindsay's like, goes into Terminator view, starts scanning for possible threats.
Yeah, I mean, that's like such an unfortunate reason to be targeted. It's a very much like an othering, but also human nature. So, like, I'm not surprised. But unfortunate for Gio. I think, though, independent of the alternate status, I think he probably would have been targeted. I think this sort of like very inflated ego and confidence, I think probably ultimately would have done him in anyway. I think because he felt so comfortable with Ryan and having like somebody that you're just so close with, that sort of gives you the confidence that like, oh yeah, we just need even one more person, like in a tribe of 6, it's like hard to imagine that like, well, if I have one person, there's already 2 of us, of course we would have one more. So I think that it's understandable why he would think that, but yeah, the confidence ultimately was his downfall here. Well, speaking of downfall,
I was gonna say, which of you did a better job at calling this?
okay, so I had Gio pre-jury. I said that Gio would be a big character pre-merge with his confessionals and one-line quips about his fellow tribe mates. I said Gio would initially be brought into the Women's Alliance by Carla, but when push comes to shove, the women turn on him in the efforts of keeping the tribe strong, keeping James and Ryan over him. I said that Gio would develop a one-sided feud with Ryan for some reason, a la Steve and Becky.
Close.
I know, a la Steve and Becky from Big Brother, where Steve just like hated Becky. Remember how Steve hated Becky and like it was like a one-sided? Yeah, okay. I said that his ally would be Carla, his enemy would be Ryan with the passion of 1,000 suns, and he would have 10 confessionals. I know, ignore that part.
I mean, listen, it could be this idea of going full circle where you were so wrong with that, you ended up being just a little bit right.
I mean, he had a very strong relationship with Ryan. Okay.
Yeah, if you take the absolute value, again, going back to math, it is a high value.
Thank you.
So I had Gio also going pre-jury. I made it clear in my interviews with Rob. Maybe it's because he was by far my shortest interview, but I did not have the highest hopes for Gio. I said that in the marooning challenge, he'll volunteer to run off to be on his own, hoping that will secure him the first advantage, perhaps an amulet. He immediately starts lying about a bunch of things, including his age and his employment status. In fact, he'll make up a kid known as Gio Jr. or GJ.
Not GJ.
Eventually, it gets to the point where Carla, who is allied with the entire tribe in some way, feels he is too much of a wild card liability to keep in her game, and she organizes his boot. The minute his torch is snuffed, he'll start the hashtag Bring Back Gio and proceed to put it in every one of his social media posts throughout the rest of the season. That remains to be seen. His closest ally was also Carla. His biggest enemy was Lindsay. He has 13 confessionals, and the randomly drawn phrase for Gio was, David proudly graduated from high school, top of his class at age 97.
Oh my God, good for him.
Good for you, David. That was like how
Never
old the
too
queen
late.
was when she
Never
died.
too
so.
late.
I just can't imagine now, like an old, noctogenarian, whatever the word is, high schooler.
Wait, like more than an octogenarian, like
There's
an
actually nonagenarian.
nonagenarian, I think. 9.
Just imagine a 90-year-old person in a high school.
I mean, he'd be
There you
killing
go.
it.
They'd be dead.
That's so rude. He made it to graduation, okay? Daniel made it to graduation.
They didn't say he was alive.
Yeah, good old diabetes Daniel. Okay. Okay,
All right.
Pritium, what do you
Pritium.
think?
So I'm picking between. There's a lot at the end there. It sort of trailed off. I lost train of thought.
Yeah, ignore that part.
I feel like okay. So wait, we're trying to make. If I remember this correctly, I'm trying to figure out which of you guys did a better job predicting
Yes.
ultimately how Geo fared
Yeah.
Yes.
based on the pre. Okay.
Good news is, unlike Lindsay, we were both close than we
man.
certainly have been in the past. And I would also say, for the record, Geo 12 confessionals. So actually,
Damn
neither
it.
one of us were that. But neither one of us were that off. That's probably
Okay,
the closest
yeah.
you've been so far, Liana.
Okay, yeah, I'm like
So you said
95
10
off.
and you said
I
13.
said 10, he said
and I said
13.
13.
Right. Okay.
But to be fair, I've guessed like 25 in the past. So for me, relative, this is actually quite good.
This is a
Okay.
good curve.
close.
Good curve.
Yeah, it's a curve. Yeah, grading on a curve.
I mean, I will say, I think you both had a lot of things going right for you when you talked about, like Mike, you said his enemy would be Lindsay. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And then Liana, you said he might get brought in. He was working with Carla. Mike did say that, but interesting. Mike, I feel like you went on a lot of like crazy things that lost the plot, but were able to bring it back in at times with some very accurate reads. You really painted a crazy picture. There's a lot going on with Geo in these however many episodes. You had 10 confessionals, 13 confessionals. Liana I felt more consistent throughout, but it came first, and I kind of lost it after that with Mike's, so I don't remember it as well.
Forgot mine. Okay, then you should give it to me. Mine was better then, obviously.
You know, there was no Geo Jr. I guess I will give it to Liana, but I feel like on some level I should give it to Mike.
No, take that,
split
Geo
it,
Jr.
Split it in
Split
half.
it in half. All right, fine. Yeah, we can each take a point. We've already done that this season. So
Yeah, I think.
we're into half
And listen,
points.
GJ might still be an idea. You know, maybe I just incepted the idea in Gio's head.
Of little
And
baby GJ.
the jury's out on him starting that hashtag. I could see it based on the 5 episodes of Geo we got. It could happen.
It could-
Well, I'm
Okay,
trying
yeah.
to think now of like, I guess of the pre-jury. I mean, we're still gonna have 1, maybe 2 coming up, but I would imagine, like Lindsay probably has the Jenny Kim vibe, right? Of like, oh, got screwed over, had a lot of potential, bring her back. Probably most out of all the pre-merge people this season so far.
Yeah, I think so.
Lindsay? She didn't really get screwed over. She kind of run.
We're saying Jenny?
Oh,
No,
I'm
you
saying
said
like
Lindsay is the most like Jenny, right?
Lindsay, I think, is the most that people were like, oh my god, I can't believe she left. She had so much potential. She was at the forefront of a perennium video for most likely winner candidates last week.
Yeah, Peridium.
I'm still
Yes,
thinking
there's
about
that.
Lindsay from 42 for some reason.
It doesn't help that they have people back to back with the same name.
Well, we're talking
Yeah.
about the advantage amulet and all that too.
Hey, but
no,
look, I'll say this. I said Carla, Sammy, and Cassidy are the other 3 on top of Lindsay. You get the first one wrong, but the other 3 are like the final 3. It's like you're laughing now,
Yeah.
but we'll see who gets the last laugh. I keep that in the back of my head. Like Carla is looking pretty good so far. I'm not too worried. And Sammy, I think Sammy's looking pretty good too.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good, again, that's why we
YouTube
do our own
comments.
predictions as well. We're like, we definitely got a mutual like front runner knocked out in Lindsay last week, but there's still a lot more game to go. Yeah, I guess besides that, Justine would be the other person that people are like, bring her back. Again, maybe it speaks to what we were speaking about before with the cast. No, I don't think there's a lot of like
Maybe Mariah?
huge call outs for, oh, this person has to come back and play again. They got their chances, screwed over.
Yeah, I
me,
mean, I feel like Jenny on 42 is the most like player that should get a second chance based on everything that happened. She didn't really decide that fate too well. It wasn't really in her hands as much. Whereas all the other players, they played Survivor. They got voted out like every other first, second, third, fourth boot. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Justine and Lindsay both made like errors. right? So it's not like it was necessary. Like it was clear, at least to the audience, the way it was portrayed, that they got voted out for a specific reason. Mariah is the one that's the biggest question mark because it was
Yeah.
like, oh, she struggled in the challenge. Okay, well, from what I saw in the challenge, she actually did
Yeah.
fine. So like, I don't understand where that's coming from. So if actually I'm gonna pick someone who I think got the most screwed over, it'd be Mariah, but for the other two. But again, you can't really compare it to Jenny because it was like this whole twist, weird vote situation that completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, I would love to know more postseason about Baka in that first and only Baka tribal council, just
I
for the
just
sake of it's Baka. I want to know more
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what was
more,
happening.
no more Baka. Like, I think Rob should
Um,
do a deep dive, not just with the individual members of Baka. Like, have a Baka reunion and just have these
Yes.
6 people
I
talk.
can go to
back
my
and
high
forth.
school.
Yes,
Owen.
the Baka Union. Oh, I can't wait.
There's David's here. I'm 97. I remember when I was on Baka.
Oh, in high school. Yeah, right.
Yeah, what's also interesting is going back to Gio for a hot second. So you talk about Cassidy, Peridium, who's able to walk away here, avoiding becoming Lindsay 2.0, or I guess Lindsay like 4.0, depending on the number of Lindsays we've had. So I guess, and I'm sad to see this because we got so little Coco content throughout the first 3 episodes. Apparently there was like this big fight between Gio and Cassidy over, the way that he was cutting the cassava, and she made a remark about it, and he wanted to do it his way, and she said, okay, this is why men don't listen to women, and he accuses her of having a tantrum and like storms off and then tells Carla, and then Carla tells Cassidy, and Cassidy confronts Gio. Like, I would have loved to see this. This sounds like incredible drama.
Where are those secret scenes?
Yeah, wait, I need this. Yeah, why? There was only one secret scene last week. Like, I need this.
It was
I
the
don't
exact
know.
opposite. I think wasn't that Cassidy like being meditating on the beach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
like
the
I'm good,
exact
and now
opposite.
it makes sense given what she has dealt with up to this point. To be like, I need to calm myself down. When you watch, you're like, calm yourself down from what? Like stepping on a rock in the morning? What do you need to calm down from? But knowing that this interpersonal struggle happened, and she's trying to get rid of her rival in the game that she was having arguments with, like, yeah, I'm very surprised this wasn't shown. To be quite honest, considering how much they villainized / built up Gio in the last 2 episodes. I don't know. I know they want to do his big and very important storyline in episode 2, but like, I kind of wish we brought this stuff in as well, because I feel like this only deepens his character.
I wonder if it's something to do with Cassidy picking her battles and playing like a sly fox in the background. Maybe it'll work out for her. Or I don't know. I've been like gauging. I'm like, yeah, maybe they're hiding it. They didn't want to show it either because it was like
A
they
bad
just
look
didn't
for
go to
her.
tribal. Yeah, maybe it would be bad for her if she does well, or maybe it was just didn't fit into the storyline well enough. They showed it. They had enough of a story. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I feel like 41, 42, and 43 have had maybe even more personal like feuds between the players. I was wondering if the faster pace and the less time would it cause more bitterness or potentially less because you don't know them as well. But from what I've seen, I feel like the players have there's been more animosity across these 3 seasons than the usual. Although I don't know, maybe that's not true. I heard there was a lot of animosity on Edge of Extinction for season 40. So that's maybe not the case. And those are all like veterans who have like won $1 million and they're like getting into petty squabbles. So maybe not. But
Well, I don't know. I always think when it comes to veteran seasons, they actually are more likely to have feelings associated with
Yeah.
it just because of both egos and relationships. I think for me, it's the lack of food. I think it's
Could be
this
it.
dangerous idea, right, of like, I think it is pure hangriness that just has, I mean, we see from Gabler, like his body shut down on, as Sammy says, it's day 2, bro. That like people, I think, just have such shell shock that I think they revert to like this very emotional side of themselves, and it makes them much more vulnerable for things that are coming their way. So I do think there's a correlation and a causation there, perhaps, that like just due to the lack of resources and it being new players who aren't really prepared for this necessarily, that they're more likely to bristle against each other. Otherwise, casting's just doing their job and placing people on the correct tribes.
yeah,
Look,
but they're
that's
not showing it.
But they're not, yeah, and that's the problem. They're not showing it. If we're gonna have chaos, I want to see the chaos. But that's what I'm saying with Gio getting into this one-sided feud with Ryan. That's I was predicting the chaos, the
And
feuds,
you got-
and that's why I got half a point.
I'll give you 3/4. Mike gets a no.
Yes, nailed it.
Listen, any part of the pizza is still good pizza. All right. Well, here's a couple
no.
games. So I have not won, but 2 games for the price of 1, Grandma, for this week. For the price of 1, David, on the B&B. 97-year-old Grandpa David. So I came up with a couple of ideas. I said before the show here that there's going to be one game that I think the two of you are going to like, and one game that I think you're not going to like. I'm going to give you a choice to reach into the communal sack here. Which game would you prefer to do first? Do you want to get the game you probably won't like out of the way, or do you want to start with the one you probably is more palatable for you?
What do you want to do, Pretty? I might trust your gut.
A part of me says rip the Band-Aid off, get the bad one out first. That way we can have lower, like end on a higher note, and maybe we'll end up liking it, and it's actually not so bad.
Okay, I'm down. I agree.
This is my Cody method. I come in you selling this thing, and I'm actually bringing it down to the place where
Please
I
don't
want
come
you.
at me.
Dear God, the sound bites in this. I wish we had recorded it when I first hopped on the call. Oh man, just another one.
That's
No,
Michelle
no,
probably
no.
last
Nope.
to the annals of time.
Nope.
All right, so
the $75 patrons get that one.
so let's start with the less desirable game.
Okay.
So Geo is short for geography.
No.
So I prepared for you a little geography bee of Survivor.
I'm glad you didn't say geometry now, because I kind of failed geometry.
Which player most resembles a triangle?
Oh my God. Okay.
Wait,
All
what?
right.
Yeah, that would be geometry. I would do like one of those surveys. of,
Oh,
like, which
yeah. I
one
thought that was actually the
represents
question there.
octagon?
I was like
No,
visualizing
so-
like Ryan as a triangle. Anyway,
Here's how
Wow.
this is going to work. We
The
have had
octagon.
hundreds upon hundreds of Survivor contestants coming from our 50 nifty United States of America and
Oh,
occasionally
no.
some from Canada. Here's how this is going to work. So I'm going to give you the name of a state. And what we're going to do is see if one person is able to guess a certain number of previous Survivor contestants or current Survivor contestants that came from that state. And the way we're going to do
Oh,
this is a
God.
bit of name that tune style. So, like, for example, if I name Mississippi, Liana says, I can name 2 Survivor contestants from Mississippi. If Prettium thinks he can get 3, he says, I can name 3. Liana
No, I
says, I
can't.
can name 4, etc., until the bluff is called, right? Until the other party says, okay, name it. That person will then attempt to name the number that they have suggested. If they are unable to do so, the other person gets a point. If they are able to do so, they will get a point. So it's a little bit of game of strategy of figuring out not only how much do you know, but wagering how much does the other person know.
okay.
Which
Are we allowed to
we're
cheat and
garnering-
bring up the list on Wikipedia of? No, we can't do
Yeah,
that.
can we at
Absolutely
least
not.
look at them?
I feel like Liana might be from where her eyes are going, but maybe not. I can't
I mean,
tell
you
what
can
she's
look
doing.
at like
Can I?
picture. You can look at pictures of the
I
contestants.
need
Sure, but
a
you can't
list
look.
of people.
Yeah, you
Like,
can have
I
a list
can't
of.
even remember their names, let alone
I can
where
tell you
they're
Marylanders.
from.
If you ask Maryland, I could probably give you like 4.
I made sure to leave Maryland off.
Oh, okay. What about Washington D.C.? Is that one of them?
That doesn't
Are
count.
there people
I
actually
believe.
from DC?
Oh.
I
I think
believe-
Cochrane's listed and Francesca.
Cochrane was listed as DC. I know that because I did an article a few years back called "The Best Survivor Player from Each State." That was not controversial at all. That
Oh.
I
Oh,
believe
boy.
Cochrane was one of the only people. I think maybe the aforementioned Cody's had it listed on DC as well, but yeah, it's very little.
Oh my
so-
God. I'm going to get Tom Laidlaw and no one else. All right, fine.
So wait, are we listening where they're hometown or where they're actually from? Like, are we talking about
So I
Hawaii
would
or
say-
Idaho?
So I would say,
Oh, yeah, for Cody.
I would say probably the Hawaii.
That's
one.
Iowa, I think, but yeah. Oh no, it's
Um,
Idaho. Never mind.
I
No,
think
it's
it's
Iowa.
No, it's Iowa.
Mike is
Carla-
Idaho. Mike Gabler is Idaho.
Yeah, Carla said
This
Idaho.
is going
I
so
think it's
terribly
understandable.
already, and we haven't even started.
So I'm going off of what is listed on the Survivor Wiki page, which I think sort of conflates the two. Like, for example, it says on his profile, hometown Honolulu, Hawaii, which is not the case. We know that he was born in Peru, for instance. So I think they're counting current town as hometown. So I would say
Okay.
the town that they were listed in when they played Survivor.
Okay.
And that's at any point in time as well. If people move states between appearances, that still counts. So listen, you have. I'm going to start you
yeah,
off.
Wait.
you're right.
here.
I do
Does
hate
Boston
this
Rob
game.
count as Florida at some point?
Or is he
Yeah,
Boston?
He could. He could count as both.
All right.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to start
Pensacola
you. I'm going to
Rob.
start you off with an easy one here, because we're going to the Golden State of California. There are up to this point 159 Survivor contestants
Oh my God.
who have appeared that are from California.
Oh wow.
Liana,
Okay.
how many Survivor contestants from California do you think you can list?
2.
Prettium, do you think you can list any higher?
I can list 3. This is gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a train wreck.
Okay.
I feel like
I
there's
think
so many
I can,
Mactors and
I think
whatnot.
yeah. So I think I can do 4 if I guess on the 4th.
All right.
Okay.
List 4.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right.
Go for
Go
it,
ahead,
Liana.
Liana.
Okay, Jesse from this season.
That is incorrect.
What? Was he not from California? Jesse.
I told you again, hometown refers to current residence.
But he grew up in. You said you encountered his book. He grew up in California. That's where he was in a gang.
Current residence. I'll have you go again. That's a mulligan. You can do it again.
Jesse, he counts. Please count him.
No, just 2 other ones.
She's
Do you not
dying.
have
She's
4 other people.
3 others.
Okay, Justine.
Yes, that counts.
Yes. Okay, and I think Janine were both.
Yep,
Right?
that's 2.
They were both from California. Okay. Okay. So that was the Jesse was
There are 159.
Yes, I know. Look, Prettium called me on like 4. All right, so
Because I really don't know if I could go higher.
Oh shit, I'm trying to think of people who have like moved to California since. Shit. Okay, I've got 2. So I'm doing good with 2.
Are you doing good?
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you 30
Feels like
seconds.
you're struggling.
I'll give you 20 seconds right now
That's
to
doing
figure out
good.
the other 2.
Okay, so the only thing I can think of is people from the previous, like, recent seasons. Romeo, because he was a pageant coach from California.
That is correct.
And then I am going to guess that...
I need an answer.
Dude, I don't know. Was Fabio from California?
That is correct.
Yes!
Oh, look at that.
Oh my god, he's got, like, surfer bro energy. I knew it.
Was
Yeah.
Yul from California?
Yul was from
I was gonna say
California.
Yul. Okay.
Yul.
So
Randomly.
Otis, Yul, and Earl, and Parvati, all from California as well. So that was an interesting string of California winners. Could have
Okay.
also guessed Adam Klein, Ozzy,
Honestly, you could have just
Amanda.
guessed anyone on Survivor Fiji. You probably would
Yeah,
have.
you could have guessed or Survivor Cook Islands for that matter.
Yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
gonna
that's
do.
good.
That was my strategy. Just like list the
yeah.
pre-merge.
Could have guessed some of our local actors / writers as well. Of course, Mike White.
Oh, Mike White.
Zeke, Hannah Shapiro.
Oh, see, the problem is that I couldn't remember if they like Mike White would have been a good one because obviously he was in LA before, but like the people that maybe like moved, like I couldn't remember if Adam Klein moved after Survivor, but I guess he played then on Winners at War, so that probably would have counted. Was he LA before?
I believe both times. I think the first time he was San Francisco, and I think the second time he was still LA.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So next round, we're getting a little bit smaller here, but still a sizable chunk. 57 Survivor contestants up to this point have lived at one point in the Empire State of New York. Peridium, how many New York survivors do you think you can name?
How many? What was the max you said?
New York State, right?
New York State, yes,
Okay.
not New York City. 57 is the maximum amount.
Like I can list 58. No, I'll just say I can list 1.
Oh,
It's
2.
low balling it. Liana goes 2.
Oh, I can
Peridium?
list 3.
2.
3.
There's a lot of big names.
4.
Okay, Liana's up to 4. Do I
All
hear
right,
5?
I'll make her go 4. Go 4,
Oh
Liana.
my god, no.
All right, back to Liana.
And you're like, no, I don't.
4
No,
New
don't
York
make me do that.
survivors.
Okay, Andrea,
That's 1.
Okay.
Rob,
That's 2.
New York State, right?
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Kimmy Kappenberg.
Kimmy Kappenberg.
She was New York, right?
Yeah, just double checking here. I believe
That
she
is
was
random.
from it, but I don't believe. Oh, yep. Sorry, she's on here. That counts.
Ah, okay. And then shoot.
Okay, I just want to see if a
Okay,
player
I'm
can
trying to
have
think
this.
of. Okay, who do I remember? Okay, who's her name? I can think of so many New York RuPaul's Drag Race queens, and that's the only thing that's popping in my head right now.
Oh man, the person I have is from New York. The person that popped in my head.
I'm pretty sure Detective Dean was from New York.
Out of nowhere, but correct.
Wow.
I knew it. Yeah.
I would have said Dan Lembo.
Okay.
He's from New York.
I like how you say this, but
That
you
would've
ignore like
counted.
Eliza, Courtney Yates,
yeah.
Steven
Yeah.
Fishback, the New York firefighter Tom.
I was thinking
Westman.
like the Wine and Cheese Club or whatever the name was, like maybe them.
You know, the person that just ran for New York district attorney.
Yeah, okay. So Eliza was the obvious answer. But like to me, it's like I think of my first few answers and then I just sort of panic and I'm trying to picture the chirons of like trying to see if I can remember where they're from. Or like in the past, because we've covered now since what, Heroes Villains? No, not Heroes Villains. Heroes Hustlers. Yes. So I'm like, okay, I probably know those people, I hope.
Well, you're still stringing it along though.
Okay.
By
All right.
the skin
This
of your
is too
teeth.
much.
But
Brady's
those
gonna do
teeth
the
are-
next one. I don't even care. One, you can do it.
I'm not gonna get it. That's why I'm like, I can barely get the biggest two. Like, there's no way I'm getting anything else.
All right. Well,
my brain just goes into panic mode.
strap on
you've
your
already won.
strap on your gator wading pants and
No,
your
not
Disney,
Florida.
your Disney World ears. We're going to the
No.
state of Florida. 38 Survivor contestants have lived in Florida at some point in time. Liana,
Okay.
how many can you guess?
2. I'm starting strong. I can name 2 off the top of my head.
See, it's weird because I don't know if I even can name 2 other than I can name 1.
Well, I don't know if there's one that I'm thinking of that now I know lives there, but I don't know if it was on his part of the bio. Okay, so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna say 3 or are you gonna challenge me?
Well, if you can go 2, then it's an automatic loss. Then I might as well just say I can go 3.
Okay, then I challenge Prettium.
All right, Peridium.
All right, we're gonna go
Guess
Pensacola,
3.
Robert.
That is 1. You got
Okay.
2 left.
Can I say Amber Mariano?
Oh, come on.
That
What?
is technically correct. Yeah.
She was there in Winners at War from
Yeah.
Florida, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I should have thought of that.
All right.
Ah!
Now one more.
The problem is I don't know if I can list a third off the top of my head. Oh boy, Florida. Who's from Florida?
Sunshine State.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I can do I actually have a state off the top of my head I can do well. Can I start doing that instead? No.
No, absolutely not. That's like
I
saying, hey,
guess?
you said like, oh, I can't solve this math problem, but here's another one that I can solve. Does that
I'll
count?
give you a different answer. Is that okay? Does that count?
I think this is wrong. Can I say, is Julia Sokolowski from Florida?
Let me take
Probably
a
from
quick
California.
look. Yeah, unfortunately,
No.
Julia Sokolowski, I believe she was from Massachusetts.
Wow.
Troyzan.
Troyzan is
I would
correct.
have no idea.
Yeah.
I would never have said Troyzan.
Well, it's interesting
Dude.
because you doubled up on a couple. Could I doubled up on another one? The Culpeppers,
Oh,
Monica
the
and
Culpeppers.
Brad,
The
both in
Culpeppers would have been a good
Florida.
one.
Honestly,
yeah.
I don't know. Didn't he play for the Vikings? I probably would have thought Minnesota or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's, I believe he's practicing now in Sarasota, so I think that's,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
They
so,
look like they live there.
and Boston Rob, the only person to win from Florida, which seems very appropriate.
Florida
for
man,
Florida.
Brad Culpepper.
Well, listen, I think I've seen actually people in the news wearing potato sacks with big mustaches. I think that's
Yeah.
just what they wear down there.
Believe it. I knew Troyzan. Damn it.
All right, next up, we're moving a little bit west. Now, get on your 10-gallon hat and your spurs.
Oh no,
'cause we're
not
going
Texas.
To the great state of Texas.
Yeah.
All right, Peridium, how many Texan Survivor players out of 41, including players from this season, can you name?
I can name 1.
All right.
Well, I can name 2.
I can name 3.
If they
You-
played on 2 seasons, does that count as 2?
No.
Oh,
They're not
okay.
different identities.
I mean, you can just think of the accent, though. You know, like
So I can. Oh no. Okay. Wait. Hold on. What did you say, Peridium? Did you say 3 or did you say 4?
I said 3.
Okay, I say 4.
She's 3 points, doesn't she?
Yep, it's 3-0 right
All
now.
right, Liana, go for it. Let's just flush it
All
down
right,
the
so
toilet.
four, once again,
Get this over
4
with.
Texan survivors.
Okay. Russell Hance,
That's 1.
There you go. Oh,
Brendan
yeah.
Hance,
That's, oh, actually, let me definitely, yep, that's 2.
Colby.
That's 3.
How many do I have to name?
4.
4.
Kim.
I was saving the best for
Damn.
last. Yep.
I don't know where these
Yeah!
people are from. I know all about like their gameplay. I have no idea about their personal lives.
I knew the Hanses because that was obvious.
And also
That's
Mike
true.
Mike Holloway
Colby.
could also
Mike
be another
Holloway.
name.
Oh,
Well, because I was
yeah.
trying to remember the people who were at the Austin Know-It-Alls.
Yeah, but that you were at, so I think
Yeah,
that makes
that I
sense.
was at.
too.
I was there, so
Oh, I didn't know that.
firsthand knowledge.
Could also gone with Danny McCray, former Cowboys player.
Oh,
That's
smart.
true.
Yep.
Didn't think about that.
All right.
Is somebody
so
on this season from Texas?
3 were actually NECA,
NECA.
Cassidy, and Ryan are all from
Oh, wow.
Texas.
You're right, Cassidy. Okay.
All right, let's move on here. Hey, get that meatball sub out of my mall. We're going to the Garden State of New Jersey. Liana, how many New Jersey Survivor players can
Jersey.
you guess?
Okay, I know I can do at least one.
I can do 2. Actually, I can do 3.
Okay, there we go. Raise it up to 3.
I can do 3.
Shoot.
I should
So
mention
the rift-
maximum of 18 Survivor players from New Jersey.
It's not that many.
Not that
Okay.
many.
Yeah, it's a narrow window. And not New York, New Jersey.
the problem is like if I say, what you said 3?
3 is the bid
I said
right
3.
now.
You have to say 4.
Yeah, I have to
Or
say
you could
4,
say
'cause I
5.
can think of 3. No, I'm not gonna say 5. The problem is that. All right, Prettium, go for it. 3.
All right,
Okay.
3.
Okay.
Tony, Natalie, and Michelle.
There
Ah,
we
damn
go.
it.
An all
Yeah.
Jersey
Yeah.
final 3. Yeah, pretty darn simple here. Also, big names. I would say the aforementioned Mike from last season, Chrissy Hoffbeck. We should also mention we had a final 3 of New Jerseyans, but only
Hoboken.
5 seasons beforehand. We had a
Oh,
final
yeah.
2 out of the final 3 with both Ryan and Chrissy as well.
That was the
Lindsay
one
from last
state where I'm
season.
like, I could list New Jersey because it's the it's the only state I've ever probably mentioned in a video is because the fact that the final 3 of Winners at War were all from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Actually, first video I ever researched for before I ever made my first video on my entire channel over 5 years ago was which state is the best at that time. And New
Ooh.
Jersey, I think, was
Wow.
number 1, and I was able to just like remember all the New Jerseyans. So
There you go.
I never made that video though. It was never
Oh, you
interesting.
never
enough
made
to make
it?
Never made it.
Iridium, you gotta make it now.
I did the data,
especially
I did the
after this.
research, and I never gave it the green light.
Well, now you have the eyes of the public
Calling.
on you to make that
Was
video.
Where's Tommy Sheehan from? Was he New Jersey too, or was
No,
he
he was
York?
New York. He's a Long
Ah.
Islander.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere
All
up
right.
there.
Let's move on here to the home state of our beloved Rob Sister. No, not home state, current state. Damn it, I'm mixing up the phrases again.
South Carolina?
North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Yeah.
North
yeah.
Carolina, surprisingly, 17 Survivor contestants have hailed from North Carolina. Peridium, how many North Carolinians can you guess? And I will
can
say,
name at least 1.
yeah, if you've been listening, you have at least one.
Wait,
I can
what does
name
that
one.
mean?
I don't know what that means, but I can name 1 because I know of. Yeah,
Because you know what?
I know of a one character who I do remember them distinctly mentioning they were from North Carolina in a season many years ago. I remember it played out. I'm
Okay,
not sure if I can name
so
2. Wait, how many did you say were from North Carolina?
17.
Ooh.
the problem is, do I lose points if I say I can do 2 and then I fail? I can only gain, right?
You can only gain, but Peridium gets
Okay.
a point.
He gets a point if I get it wrong?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I guess technically, yes, you lose in that he gains one.
yeah, okay.
I think you're winning.
How many
Isn't it like
points
4
do
to
I
1 or
have?
something?
It's 4-1 at this point, and we have 2 left after this. So there's a chance for a tie.
Okay, I'll let Prettium do it because I have no idea.
All
Wait,
right, name
did I
your
don't-
one North Carolina player.
I had Jane Bright.
I believe that is correct. Yes, Jane
Okay.
Bright.
How do you know that?
Again, when it came to listening, I literally said at the beginning of this game, Jesse came from California and lives in North
Oh,
Carolina
yeah, I
right
didn't
now.
know that one.
Oh, I was not paying attention.
Well, now
Yeah.
now it all makes sense. Now it's a lot coming out in the woodwork here. But yes, probably one of the most pertinent ones that people might not remember. Sandra Diaz Twine, one of the seasons she was on, she was living in North
Oh,
Carolina.
yeah.
Mm.
So that technically
I
counts.
feel I feel like
Chase-
Jane was brought up with like a Tar Heel mention in Nicaragua. I feel like with
And that's
Chase
why
or
it stuck with
something.
you.
I don't
Chase,
know.
yeah, Chase was also from North Carolina.
Was he?
as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
probably
yeah,
would have
yeah.
guessed that as a second. Okay.
Yeah. So congratulations, Peridium. The score is now
Okay.
4-2.
Oh man.
All right. Well, we're going up in digits, and I don't know if you'll get up to 10 Survivor contestants, but I certainly see one as we're going to Tennessee. There have been 15 Survivor contestants from Tennessee, past and present. Liana, how many can you guess?
Can I start at 0? Like,
That
is that
doesn't
allowed?
make any sense.
Is that like a pass to me?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a pass to Peridium. I'm gonna say 0.
I can name one player from Tennessee. I hope.
Oh, I think I can do 2. I think I can do 2.
Okay.
Oh wow. If you can do 2, that's not good because you feel pretty confident with that. I could definitely do 1. I don't know if I can do 3. What's the score? 4-2.
4-2. You gonna risk it for the biscuit?
And it's only one appearance because I know one person from Tennessee for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the only person I know at all. I think I'll just have to default to Liana. I mean, I definitely wouldn't get it. I don't think I can get 3, but 2
Okay.
is
2 for Tennessee for Liana. Who are the 2 you've got?
Okay. Hold on, let me think. Okay, so both Missy and Baylor.
Oh shoot. That's a good one,
Missy
then.
is not from Tennessee.
Damn it!
Ooh.
I thought they both
Missy
were.
is from Texas.
Ah.
Wait, is
Damn
Baylor
it.
from Tennessee then? Is she
Baylor was in
listed?
Tennessee. Yeah, Baylor was residing in
Oh.
Tennessee at the time of Survivor San Juan del Sur. But
Is
Missy,
Chase Rice from Tennessee?
no, it's North Carolina. We had this discussion.
Ah,
She's not
damn
paying
it.
attention.
I'm not listening.
We talk about North Carolina. She's like, I don't even care.
Yeah, I zoned out. I was like, if
Yeah,
Mike
I think
said
now
a
we
thing
just have a
and I-
sense as to like what states
Jesse
Liana does
lives
not
there.
care about.
I just,
She's not a fan of
Rob. I don't know. It doesn't.
What was the one that you knew, Pretty?
Tina.
That's correct. Yeah,
Oh.
Tina
Yeah.
Wesson is
And
the
Tina
main
Wesson.
one from Tennessee.
Whitney Duncan also, yes.
Whitney Duncan is also from Tennessee.
Okay. Well, darn it. I wouldn't have known though between the
Was,
two. I was like, I knew one of, if not both, of Missy and Baylor.
Was
were both.
Gretchen Cordy the merge boot of Borneo? She
Was from
was.
Tennessee,
Okay.
yep.
That's super random.
Pretty. You gotta trust yourself.
So were
No,
some random
but it
people
would've-
like Figgy,
would've
Bubba
worked.
from
Figgy.
Survivor Vanuatu, the now
Figgy?
canceled Silas, and runner-up of the aforementioned Edge of Extinction, Gavin, was from Tennessee.
All right.
All
Good
right.
for him.
So it all comes down to this, Prettium. You have to get this one to tie.
Well, he could just push it on me. That's the hard part.
Well, we'll see if your victory is as succulent as some
Oh,
succulent
God.
crawdads. Get your feet out of the bayou, man. We're going to Louisiana. Peridium. There have
Can you
been-
say that again?
You should be canceled for that.
Yeah.
That's how they all
I
talk,
want that
right,
on my
Liana?
ringtone.
Yeah, I lived there for a while, so like I know that's what it all sounds like.
All right, Peridium.
Oh, you did?
There
Oh,
have been
interesting.
13 Survivor players, past and present, who have lived in Louisiana. How
Oh
many
my
can you
God.
guess?
I can do 1.
I can do
Right, Leah.
2.
You can?
Yes. Well, I hope now. I'm confused, but
I know now
hope
you're thrown off by this whole Tennessee thing.
Oh, you can
Yeah.
do 2. I think I could do 1, but yeah, I'm gonna let you do 2.
All right,
Okay.
Liana, this is for the win.
This
It's
is it.
the nails. We're talking Keith. We're talking Wes.
Oh, that's lame. I
Hit
can do
the
3.
nail
You
on the
can't.
head.
Shut up.
There you go. That is
Yes!
correct.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
God, I was like, I knew family.
Listen,
Like,
you lived by San Juan del Sur. You died by San Juan del Sur. You got
That's
it wrong
true.
with Missy and Baylor.
Oh,
you
that's a
got it
good one.
right.
If you know where 1 is, if you can distinct, then you just get both. It's 2 for the price
See?
of 1.
that was my
yeah,
strategy.
but also
Failed and
infamously,
succeeded.
of course, James Clement from
Yes.
Louisiana.
Oh, is,
Yeah.
is Boo by any chance?
Boo is as well.
Okay, that's what I was
yeah.
thinking.
I
Owen.
from last season. Owen.
Owen.
Also
from
from
You're
this
right,
season.
Owen.
I could have gone
Oh,
on Louisiana,
disappointed,
baby.
yeah.
Like, let's go.
Wasn't
All right.
confident.
Well, then congratulations to Liana. I guess I picked a good one to end. This was your version of New Jersey, essentially.
It was.
It was
truly
a-
was.
It was a close victory, though, and I know you both love the game immensely. And thank you all for participating in my Survivor Geography B.
Okay, we ripped the Band-Aid off. Next game.
All right, now
do
I'm
it
gonna
again. Do it again.
rub
No,
on. All right,
no.
now we're gonna
Let's
do
go
it
to
backwards.
Wyoming.
More states.
No.
Delaware.
I can do Wyoming for one.
Canada.
All right, well, next up here is something completely different. So this past week on the Friendship Onion podcast, which is a lovely podcast done by Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd, who are two stars of the Lord of the Rings franchise. They play Pippin and Merry, two hobbits, spend a lot of time together, have a really fantastic friendship. I recommend people check out the podcast because they do random segments as well as interviews. And it just so happens this past week they sat down to interview one Jeffrey Lee Probst.
Wild.
I was going to say, my wife told me before I got on, she wanted to let you know, Mike, she loves your Rings of Power podcast. She listens to it every week. She's a diehard Lord of the Rings fan. We went to Hobbiton in New Zealand.
Yes.
And she does love Rings of Power too. And so, yeah, she wanted to let me know.
Amazing.
Let you know.
Thank you. Well, everyone check out Rings of Power. It is now over.
So speaking of Billy Boyd.
Yeah,
You can binge it in one fell swoop if you want to. Yeah, that was also the reason why I reached out to both of you. And I'm like, just in case, don't listen to this because I have a quiz about it. Because I
was going to also.
Yeah,
so it's a good thing you caught me.
I saw your pictures in Hobbiton, I remember, and from your honeymoon. And I was like, okay, there was a non-zero chance because this would be worlds colliding. Because it certainly was for me. Because the thing is, so this wasn't entirely random. Dominic Monaghan is a huge Survivor fan. In fact, has been to not events, but has met Jeff before. Jeff has taken him to his house before. Certainly has made the list, I think, for if there ever was a celebrity Survivor. He is certainly on it. So I listened to all 90 plus minutes of this interview, and I have created a quiz for it. It's multiple choice. Don't worry, we're not going to do the Jordan Kalish qualitatively guess an answer and try to figure out who's the closest. But we'll see which one of you has the better finger on the pulse as to how Jeff Probst is in interviews. He's notoriously very, I think, not short in his interviews, but I think short list in terms of the people that he interviews with. I'm very lucky that I get to be a part of it. So it's very rare to see him, especially during the season, come out of the woodwork and do an interview. So I was very intrigued to check out what it was. And I was not dissatisfied. I will say that.
Okay.
I'm just excited to hear that. Who did you say Dominic is a big fan of? And who did he play? He was, which one?
So he played Mary, also known as Charlie from Lost.
I'm going to let my wife, I'm just trying to retain this so I can tell my wife because she's going to love that,
The story is also that
1 degree of separation from.
He was also attempting to get Billy Boyd into Survivor. Billy Boyd has been watching season 43, has been enjoying it so far. They recall a story how 15 years ago, Dominic Monaghan was like, oh, you have some time at home. Take my DVD of Survivor Heroes versus Villains. It's my favorite Survivor season of all time. I got to get you into the show. Not only did Billy Boyd not watch the season, he actively lost the DVD, which feels like insult to injury.
Oof.
Good taste, though. He's got a good taste on the seasons.
Truly a fool of a took there. All right, so Peridium, I will start with you here. Again, this is multiple choice. We'll go back and forth with questions. So, Dominic Monaghan has shied away from going to reunions when they were a thing or events. He gets a little starstruck when he meets Survivor castaways. But Dominic Monaghan one time went to Jeff Probst's house where he got to meet a Survivor player. Who did Dominic Monaghan meet? Parvati, Boston Rob, Cochran, or Mike White?
I'm going to say not Mike White. I just feel like that's too meta. So wait, we're picking one of the four. He met one of those four.
He did.
That's how multiple questions
So
work.
I feel like Boston Rob, that's how they work, right? I remember this. I haven't taken a test in 10 years. Okay. I feel like Boston Rob is most likely going to be found other than maybe pre-Heroes Villains Colby Donaldson. I feel like there's a high chance, if you asked me to bet my life on which player is going to be in Jeff Probst's house, it's probably Boston Rob. But that also leads me to feel like that's the most obvious answer.
And we can't find Rob. Where is he? He's probably at Jeff's house.
I mean, why wouldn't he be? Where else?
Yeah.
What else is he doing?
Go?
Well,
he's done renovating celebrities' houses.
Yeah,
he lives rent-free in Probst's head. Why not in his house?
Why not in his house too? Yeah, smart.
I'm debating if this is like the mole. Is it so obvious, or am I gonna have to big brain it and get it wrong, like I did with the winner? I'm gonna say Boston Rob, but I feel like that's the obvious wrong answer. But I don't care.
Well, much like your guess with the mole, you were right on the money there. He did indeed meet
Oh.
Boston Rob at Jeff's
I would
house.
have
There
said
you go.
Cochran.
Which
Damn
is
it.
interesting. Like, I don't know what that situation is / when it happened. He didn't give a timeline. Like, was Rob in town staying at Jeff's? Was Jeff like, I'm having a soiree with all my closest confidants. Dominic, you must meet Robert.
Yes, come on by. My best friends.
He's like,
I want to
"Hey."
say, if Dominic is shy to meet, so I wonder how he feels meeting a Survivor YouTuber. I wonder if he gets shy over that too. Because
Ooh.
if he
Oh, that
does,
might-
I would be more than willing to let him into my house and hang
I
out
would
with
say
him. for
like
after.
mild humility. I'd say like a slight
Yeah.
blush of the cheeks,
Because
but nothing
I would
more.
be blushing, but if he's that, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
I just
it's
can't
like
imagine-
at Todrick's house too.
Yeah,
Let
I,
them all over.
I just can't imagine what the conversation would be like, right? Like, Boston Rob knows next to nothing about Middle Earth.
Yeah, but like I feel like if you're a fan is a fan is a fan, right? If he's a fan of Survivor, you're gonna ask the same questions that anyone would, regardless of celebrity status. You know what I
Where do
mean?
you go to the bathroom?
Yeah. Okay. Good accent, Mike.
Yeah, listen, that's
Is
why
that,
I tried
is
it
that
out.
Boston Rob asking Dominic when he was on set? No.
Yeah, Dominic, where'd you go to the bathroom on Lost?
Wait, what? Oh man.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
How
Lost
was
stuff
New
could have kept running.
Zealand?
I think Boston Rob... Actually, I don't know if Boston Rob would have watched Lost, because this was 2004. He just lost All-Stars. He might have just been like, get me away from any and all island shows.
That's
I don't want to
about
watch this.
I'm
losing
not
on an
PTSD.
island.
To it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Liana. So
My
there's
turn.
Yes, there's a, as someone says whenever it's their turn on a game show.
Yeah, no whammies. My
Her
turn. No
turn.
whammies.
My turn.
My turn.
All right, so they talk about going back to watch Borneo, and Jeff says, I can't do it. I can't go back and watch Borneo. What's the reason that Jeff Probst gives as to why he can't watch Borneo?
Okay.
A, he hates watching himself back.
Okay.
B, he doesn't like that it's in standard definition. C, he feels some comments and scenes don't stand the test of time. D, he doesn't want to touch the whole Richard Hatch of it all with a 10-foot pole.
Shoot. So like my answer for me would be A. Like it's weird to watch yourself, especially the first time you're doing something. Like I'm sure it feels like, oh yeah, it's so weird to see myself, the first iteration of the show. So I think I'm just gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna say A.
Yeah, you are more like Jeff Probst than you think. That is correct.
Survivor guy and I have a lot in common.
I was really hoping you'd go with the SD just to make Jeff Probst one of those guys where I'm like, I can't watch any seasons that aren't in HD, personally.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is he a Zoomer? Jeff Probst? What's
Yeah,
going
not
on
an
there?
SD kind of guy. I can't go back.
All right. Peridium, according to Jeff, what's the only thing that they ask players to do on the show? They give like a player one general rule that they should follow when on the show. Anything else is on limits in a manner of
Don't
speaking.
vote
I don't
out
even-
Boston Rob.
Yeah, wait,
Exactly.
what?
Why
If
don't
they
be
do, it's
voting me
Courtney's
out
fault.
now? You're a little man
That's-
coach.
No.
Yeah,
All right. So, according to
How
Jeff,
dare
the
you,
one,
Courtney?
the one thing they ask players to do on the show, 1, play to win. B, always keep your buff
One,
on.
Sorry. So you
C.
said 1 and then B.
1B,
Anyway, sorry.
Gamma.
Okay, sorry.
Alpha.
A, play to win. B,
Delta.
always keep your buff on. C,
Sigma.
be honest in your interviews. D, don't sing any licensed music.
Yeah, right. This is Big Brother.
Yeah.
Well, that was the
These are
other
gonna
story,
get
right?
cut.
That Penner was like, hey,
He would
if
sing
you
the
don't do
Beatles,
this, I'm going
right?
to sing the Beatles catalog.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, I'm going to sing the Beatles catalog if you don't do this.
Is that Dominic again?
Is this gonna happen?
That's what all Survivor contestants
Hold
sound
on.
like.
Yeah, okay.
Keep your buff on? I don't think that's probably it. A, play to win. I mean, that's definitely something Probst would say, but is it like... I've watched a lot of interviews of Probst, and he loves to be hyperbolic, and he loves to sort of like... He kind of does what my dad does in a way. It reminds me of my dad a little bit, weirdly. It's
Why
just the
am
way
I
it
always the
Is that-
parent?
he just sort of like when he recounts stories, it's sort of embellished, and it's not like really true to like if you know Survivor well, it's like that's not really it, and I don't believe that, and
Not the
you're
dad
doing it because it
call-out.
sounds better with company. You're
A fish story, yeah.
Sure.
yeah. Is that what it is? Okay.
Or Shark Tale.
What was the third one again? Delta or whatever.
So it was play to win, always keep your buff on, be honest in your interviews, don't sing any licensed music.
Oh man, play to win's pretty straightforward, but then it's where I'll just say play to win. No, that's pretty boring. I actually don't want to say that, but I will. I'll say play to win. I already saw your reaction. Just say I could probably wrong.
You are correct on that
Oh.
at least. So you're correct in being wrong.
Damn it, you got me. I was like, oh right.
I gotcha.
Wow.
It was
That was a
the
roller
one thing
coaster.
apparently they asked the contestants: always be honest in your interviews. Do
Okay.
not lie to
Oh.
us.
I started thinking it
Not
could
what I
be
would've said.
C, but whatever.
Yeah, I think that's more so from a storytelling perspective, but also as well in like a hey, can you like tell us when something's happening if your like foot's falling off, just so we know?
I will
Sure.
say with the mole, that was the last thing on my mind before we shut up. But I was blown away not by the winner or the mole, but I was blown away by the fact that they were all honest in their interviews or their confessionals, and they were not lying. I thought they were lying to me for most of the episodes, and then based on
Yeah.
the results, I'm like,
Wait,
oh
like
my
know.
god, they were being honest.
It's
like everyone, you mean?
So I think what Pretty I'm
Pretty
suggesting
much.
is that like you know imagine that in confessionals, right? It's like why do you think this person's the mole? Why do you
Right.
think this person's the mole? And then they sort of like pick and choose
Like
putting that in
yeah,
there.
they edit it based on like what creates the
Oh,
most.
sure. Yeah.
most
I mean, based on
suspense
the
to the
final guesses,
audience.
also, like it makes sense with the confessionals. Like it all.
Yeah,
lines
I
up,
just
so.
couldn't fully believe it's. They felt a little scripted, a little bit produced, and I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know if I
someone's
buy.
did.
So to
If
hear
that-
the Jeff say that, it's like, oh, interesting.
It brings up a good question though. I think I saw this tweeted out. It's a point. Would you rather have
wonder.
like over the top loud DR scripted confessionals from Big Brother or like mole-esque kind of steady but monotone scripted confessionals?
Mole.
Neither.
I mean, well, yes. At the end of the
you
day,
are
If I-
writing in the margins of the math test.
I didn't realize there was a
Yeah, is
fourth
that an
option in
option?
this.
Well, see,
Liana
that's what
found the
happens.
invisible
You think outside the
option.
box. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, true,
Some
true,
of
okay.
us are clever. I
But
mean,
I would
yeah.
take the mole over the Big
I mean,
Brother ones.
I would agree with Prettium as well.
I don't know. For me, it's like the phrases of the beads, where like like, at least you
Yeah.
could make fun of the comicness of like what Jasmine's doing, for example. Like the mole, I'll admit, I got a little bit of like, oh, that sounds like mole behavior to me. Like it did sound just so forced.
I will tell you, by episode 9 and 10, I was so done with every confessional. I was just, I don't care.
Mm.
I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Like, it only matters except, I guess, the final, like, episode 9. Not to turn this into a mole podcast.
I'm like, I didn't mean to turn this into a mole podcast,
Surprise,
but I
it's a
did
mole
just.
podcast.
But it was just nothing. It was just a nothing burger of a confessional. So if I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a blindside butter beans or I'm gonna get a nothing burger, I'd rather have the blindside butter beans, I guess.
For me, the blown away, I was shocked to find that they were probably being honest with their kind of produced, very
Yeah, I
even,
think-
steady Eddie confessional. I was like, oh, wow, that's actually, Joy really does think it's Will. All right, there
Yeah.
we go.
That's the thing is I think like it's the
Holy
candor I
shit.
think helps it, but I think the cadence I think give me Big Brother because I agree with you, Liana. Like it just felt so samey and it felt
So
very much
boring.
like the producer being like, okay, you feel this way, but say it like this, da 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 da, and so that's
Yeah.
what they just kind of
They're
went
being
with
coached a little bit.
Yeah.
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
Liana, it's your turn.
Oh boy.
So-
All right.
Dominic Monaghan, true to his super fandom, name drops a bunch of contestants over the course. None that he's met besides Boston Rob, of course.
okay.
But he does name a bunch of contestants. Which one of these did he not name drop? So 3 of
Oh,
these he
boy.
did, one
Okay.
he did not. Between Johnny Fairplay, Sari, Tony, and Kelly Wentworth.
Oh my god, they're all such icons. Like, how do you? Because the thing is like you could say fair play, right? To me, is the odd one out of that group, but is still like a very impactful player when it comes to Survivor. So, okay, he met Boston Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna say, oh, it pains me to say this, but I'm gonna go with Kelly.
That pain, it turns to bliss because that is correct.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so
Stay cool,
Dominic
Liana.
he mentioned, let's see if I have the full list. He name drops Rupert, Johnny Fairplay, Sari, Ozzy, Tony, Parvati,
Yeah.
Russell. He actually tells Billy Boy, like, oh, you got to check out Russell. He's like this evil looking hobbit. Just imagine a hobbit, but evil. That's
Yeah,
Russell.
from
I was
Texas.
thinking
We know.
that too.
Yeah.
I thought like Rupert would be like number one. So when you said fair play, I thought, it's not far from my
Yeah.
number
Yeah,
one
I
thought.
thought
Yeah.
Rupert would be too much of a gimme. So yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And I think it came up where I think Jeff said like, if you're honest with me, like I won't be mad at you. And he's like, even Johnny Fairplay's like, yeah, fair play is fine. So I think that's where it ended up coming up. But yeah, I think it's still a bit of a pull considering that this is a guy who hasn't appeared on Survivor since season 16 in 2008.
I know.
Wait, you said Jeff brought up fair play first?
No, Dominic name
Dominic.
dropped it, and then Jeff replied, being like, it's fine. We're good with the Danny Bonaducci stuff.
Interesting. Huh.
All right, so let's continue our journey through Survivor history. Peridium, I asked this question in the preseason, but we'll see what Jeff's answer is. What does Jeff say is the singular best moment that represents Survivor?
Oh my
A,
god.
Cirie crossing the balance beam. B, the Black Widow Brigade taking immunity from Eric. C, Parvati playing 2 idols. D, the no votes tribal council in Cambodia.
So what does Jeff think?
What does Jeff think?
Yeah.
And I will say is not the best, but I would say he says represents Survivor the most.
Represents it the most?
Yeah, the singular best moment that
it's-
represents Survivor.
Gosh, if this was like 41, I would say the balance beam, just thinking back how intense he was with Heather and not giving up, but that's long gone. I feel like I've seen more sassy Jeff in 43 than we did in 41 and 42, although he did have
Sorry
a
for
flare up in
you.
42 for a minute. He gave High a little bit of sass. I always thought that was an interesting. What else? I feel like my gut says the Black Widow Brigade. Was that duping Eric? That was one of them. Good for them. They got 3 out of 4 of these answers. So whichever one, if Jeff, I'm gonna say the Black Widow Brigade duping Eric is the answer, but I hope I'm right. That's what I would like him to say, because that's social manipulation at its finest, which probably means it's the wrong answer.
It was Cirie crossing the balance beam.
Oh, that's so painful. Wow. God,
I
Jeff,
would've-
you're so
Pretty-
bad. This
I
is
would've
worse
said
than
the
him
same.
putting Ben on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, no, I was like, it's got, before you even read the answers, Mike, I was like, it's gotta be Eric giving the immunity necklace away. It's gotta be, especially
That
because
is
he's
like
had so
the
many contestants say it.
quintessential.
Yes, it is. And they replayed it so many times in Ghost
Right?
Island, and I was just like, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. It's like the move
Wow.
that's lived in
No,
infamy. but-
Peridium, you were on the right line of thinking, but you took that rail at the juncture. Jeff is talking about like
Jeff
how
isn't
nowadays
being honest with himself.
he's all about
Yeah,
being like
in the
softer, and he's all
confessional.
Jeff's
about
lying to himself. He's
He's
not
not
being
being
honest in
honest
his
in
confessional. This is the
confessionals.
problem with Interview Jeff. He is doing the one thing he said he tells the players to do. He doesn't do it.
We need Survivor Man. Where's
I don't
Survivor
believe
Man?
him when
Oh,
he says
Survivor Man's
that
gonna
is
tell the truth.
quintessential Survivor.
Yeah.
Cirie getting across the balance beam after the challenge is already over.
Yeah.
Like,
come on,
it doesn't
Jeff.
even
Yeah.
matter. Good for Cirie, but like,
to
Well,
him
like,
it represents like this triumph of the human spirit, which again is like what Survivor is all about now in terms of its storytelling.
No.
Survivor is doing whatever you can to win $1 million within the confines of the game. That's what it was. You create this system, and then you have to vote each other out in a way that rewards you the win in the end. He even gave us a monologue at the beginning of the season, this season, about it. It was very
it's all
Survivor
about-
Borneo of
It's all
us.
about fun.
About
Dangerous
walking
fun.
across a balance beam.
I
Middle of
made
water.
that moment, and I kind of made it as a joke at one of my videos where I took out all the audio except for the players encouraging Cirie, and it is so awkward. And it strips all of the power out of all of it, and it's just watching Cirie, and they're like, "Yeah, come on, Cirie."
Yeah, without
and
the
Zeke's
music, like-
"Go." Yeah, no music, no sound effects, just awkward, slow water moving. Cirie steps across. That's it. That's Survivor for you.
But no matter how much the sound is mixed in, according to Jeff, that's Survivor in a nutshell.
Quintessential.
All right, Jeff.
All right, Liana, going back to you as Peridium stews in his rage at the moment.
I
Jeff-
appreciate his craziness. That's all.
Jeff says, currently the only things players are not allowed to keep from the show after their time on the island are what? A, their bags. B, any props or anything taken from the set. C, tree mail. D, advantages.
Okay, so I know they can keep idols, right? So they can keep advantages. Tree mail, bags, and set
Pops?
pieces?
Set pieces, yeah. Props,
Okay,
props from the set.
yeah, I'm gonna go with B. I'm gonna go with props, like set pieces.
Like a torch?
Yeah, they
So
they
you-
auction them.
So you are actually incorrect. They're now no
No.
longer able to keep their idols.
Oh, they must
Or
have changed that
advantages.
rule.
But
Just
they
like you could
also
swap out
can't-
rewards.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
also can't keep their set pieces. So I also win.
Well, they didn't know. He said there's one thing that they're not allowed to keep.
That's what he said.
No, what Jeff said. Yeah, okay.
What Jeff said,
sorry,
exactly.
Yeah. Which
That's That's the game title. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Basically what he says is he actually brings up knowledge is power here. And he says that he specifically, because Gio talked about this in an interview, I think with Showbiz Cheat Sheet, where he's like, oh, I don't have it. Like, I would have gotten it framed, but I had to give it back after I was voted out. And Jeff says it's because he wants to make this, quote, a cursed sheet of paper. That he wants this thing to continue season
What?
through season. So that when
Spoilers
someone gets
for
the knowledge of
44.
his power, they can reverse the curse.
What? No, this is Ghost Island all over again. Why would you want that?
I mean, again, Ghost Island, people have their fans there. But yeah, Jeff wants essentially like this idea of keeping things so that if they're used improperly, they could be recycled back into the game either immediately or like we saw. Remember when that happened in Ghost Island, right? That like Kellen misused her extra vote and then Seabass found it
Yeah.
immediately. But
Seabass.
but yeah, it's an interesting idea that
Banana
even a
flavor.
piece of paper that informs you that you have the knowledge is power, you can't take with you.
Yeah, that's
They could-
wild.
I feel like they could easily make another knowledge
That's
is
what I'm
power.
saying.
It
Can they
doesn't
not
really take
print
much.
another one?
art
It's a
design.
We're out of
Paper.
photocopiers on the island. We're running low on magenta ink,
no
and
more
it's so hard to
paper.
find.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deforestation of Fiji, Liana, it's finally manifested.
Ah, I knew
Oh,
it.
no.
Yes. Okay.
All right, Prettium, back to you. When asked what parts of challenges he would be good at, which of the following did Jeff not answer with? So Dominic's like, if you could run a challenge, Jeff, like, what parts do you think you would be good at? Jeff listed 3 of these. One he did not. Is it A, crossing balance beams, like Suri? B, climbing walls? C, solving slide puzzles? D, untying ropes?
So he said he would be good at 3 of those 4.
Yep.
Wow, Jeff is just a humble guy there, isn't
I
he?
mean, it's
He
not
is-
enough. You get picking up osmosis of 20
I'm
plus
surprised he
years of
didn't
being
say
able to see it.
digging under the poles or something. He loves to comment on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Speaking of that, actually, Billy Boyd mentions at one point, he's like, my wife's got one question for you. What's going on with that girl's chin? And Jeff's like, I don't know.
yeah.
She cut it.
I think it's from the first challenge when she
Yeah.
digs
Yeah,
underneath
but I
the
love
pole.
that the Billy Boyd's wife, the only question he has is like, what's going on with her chin?
Like, is
Yeah.
she okay? Does she need antibiotic ointment? Like,
Does she-
It looks
she's
like
pretty
it's getting
honest with
better.
professionals.
yeah, it's
To be
definitely
fair,
healing.
it does look better than it did in the first episode.
It's just a scab. She's healing. It's fine.
I keep track. That's the thing I pay attention to. That's on the
Yeah,
battle
because that,
map.
well,
You're
'cause
like
that's the
measuring.
well, no, that's
Janine's chin.
continuity, right? Like, that is like figuring out, like,
Oh, and
where
yes.
it is in the episode.
That's
the
true. That's true.
And that's smart, right? Because we talked about, when was the idol actually found? You can just measure the scab.
Oh wow.
See?
Who's
There
on
you go.
Scab Watch?
Scab
All right.
Watch. Scab Watch 2020.
It's 2022.
Okay, so tying knots, going up the wall
Who knows
ramp.
what year it is? Okay.
2022,
So we have
2021. Technically, they filmed it last year.
All right, so we have no. They filmed it earlier this
You're
year.
right. They did it this year, 2022. Okay, Scab Watch 2022.
All
Okay,
right,
bal-
so we have
balance
crossing-
beam, going up the
balance
wall,
beams,
untying
climbing up
knots.
walls, slide puzzles, untying ropes.
He's not good at. 3 of the 4 of those are physical related. Guys are usually worse at balance, though. Maybe that's Jeff's weakness. Untying knots is so forgettable. Like, would he even say that? I'll say untying knots.
Not forgettable enough for Jeff Probst. That is
Wow.
incorrect. Jeff did not talk about doing puzzles whatsoever. He
Really?
Yeah, he talked about how he could cross balance beams.
Yeah,
he
that
says
makes
the trick
sense.
to it is just go. Is just don't even think
Just
about it.
go.
Just the worst you could do
Yeah,
is
just
fall
go.
off.
Just get it right.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Just go. Just do it. Just
And
do
basi-
it. Nike.
yeah, but he
Don't be
specifically
depressed. It's
said
that easy.
Crossing balance
Yes,
beams,
just
climbing
don't be
walls.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that truly is Jeff Probst's form of treating depression. But I mean, speaking of feeling like you're being dragged down, he does relay this story where I think it's referring to Cambodia. He says, one time you were testing a challenge, the opening challenge, where someone had to swim out and dive down for something, and they were saying, is it too deep? And apparently Jeff said, listen, I'll test it. I'm an average swimmer. If it's too deep for me, then it's too deep for them. And it was too deep for him. So he would say he'd be an okay swimmer, but then he relayed that story.
All right. Too
All
deep
right.
for Jeff. Good to know.
He can dig deep but not swim deep. All right.
Yeah, too deep.
Liana,
Oh, no.
Dominic Monaghan, Survivor superfan, says
Mhm.
43 seasons in, he's surprised at this point that what has not happened on the show yet?
Oh.
A. Someone cuts their thumb off with a machete. B. Someone has a heart attack during a challenge. C. Someone
Almost.
misplaces their idol after finding it. Or D. Someone creates their own brand new advantage.
Okay, so we did have the shoot, it was on 39, the fake, it was like the piece of paper, the copied advantage with Detective
Mhm.
Dean and
What,
Jamal.
yeah, I guess more so what's being implied here is like like,
brand
oh,
new.
this is this is the triple vote advantage where now I have 3 votes.
So I think the cutting someone's thumb off, that would be my first guess, but I'm gonna go with C, the how someone has not lost their advantage or their idol.
Should have gone with your gut. It was
Damn
A.
it. Damn it. Ah.
So this is what Dominic said. He's surprised never
He's
happened.
surprised no one's
Yeah.
cut their finger off.
Okay.
And
And
Jeff-
technically Parvati did that, I think, and
Well,
Cook
yeah,
Islands.
she
Sorta.
cut her hand, I think it was.
Close enough. But,
And of
But
course
not
we had the whole
off.
Kathy Schleckman
it was
debacle.
hanging.
And Jeff says that
Her
they
hands
purposely
hanging.
give them the dullest machetes possible in order to make sure that doesn't happen. Then it only gets to the extent of what happened with Parvati and nothing else.
Okay, but
Okay.
a dull knife is actually more dangerous than a sharp knife because a dull knife does what it wants, a sharp knife does what you want it to do. So actually, that could be more dangerous.
All right, Jeff, get the knife
So,
sharpener out. It's a long
just-
off season.
Zzz, zzz.
All
I
right.
didn't know that.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
It's a
Where
thing.
did you learn this?
I don't know, my mom. That's
I
what
know,
she's
it's just-
always said.
It's
I
just a
don't
very
know. It's
funny,
like
Oh,
a thing.
okay.
It's
fun
like
phrase. Like it
it's a
feels like a phrase
thing.
you'd say in an immunity
I've never heard
challenge.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It does
no,
what it wants to do. Huh.
it's a secret phrase.
So like it's a dull knife like Gabler. It does what it wants to do.
Yeah, it just does what it wants. You can't control
Oh,
it.
okay.
It's a mess.
And Sammy's the sharp knife. Okay.
Yeah, just
Ah, now this makes a lot
Cutting,
more
like-
sense. They're all in that Baka drawer.
yeah. Not the Baka drawer.
All right, Peridium, back to you. So Dominic gave his thoughts on this current season. Who does he believe is right now the front runner to win Survivor
Ooh,
43?
I like this
okay.
question.
Who
Yeah, I'm
would
curious to
he
see.
make if he could make a YouTube video? Who would he put in his top
Is
4?
number 1.
As
Yeah.
his number
Peridium.
1. A. Carla. B. Cody. C. Jesse. D. Owen.
Oof.
I mean, I don't think he's gonna say. I feel like Cody feels like the most visible player, but that doesn't mean that is Dominic Monaghan thinking Cody, despite him. I think he's the most visible to the casual audience. Cody. I feel like Owen probably not, but then maybe Dominic is big braining it and thinking like within the cracks of it. Jesse does feel like he could be. He's gotten a lot of content. That wouldn't even be a bad guess, even if he was a super fan. Like, that's not a bad guess, is Jesse. And then Carla feels like what I would have said, but I don't think that's what he would have said, because that's what I would have said. And I just don't know if I know him well enough. He needs to hang out with us. Come over and hang out, Dominic.
Yeah,
if
This
you're
is an
exactly.
invitation, Dom.
You know, we could talk about
Come
who was
stay
going
in
to
our
win this
house.
season.
I'll pretend to be Boston Rob if it helps.
He'll do his Louisiana accent. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Come
oh,
on
good.
over, Dom. We'll crack into some grits.
Gosh, I'm going to
Wrestle a
say
gator with me.
in the hearing that, I'm going to say Jesse. My gut says Cody.
It was
Cody.
Cody.
Gosh darn it.
Damn
Okay.
it. Oh, I
This
would
is
have
the
said
lesson.
Carla.
Again, you're learning time and time again. Always trust your gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trust my gut.
He's like, oh, this guy's unbelievable. Because so this was before episode 5 airs. The last thing he saw was what the maneuvering Cody was
Oh,
doing with
yeah,
Coco.
okay.
Yeah, with the
So it's like, oh, what he was
negotiation.
able to walk in and do. So yeah, Dominic Monaghan
Fair.
loves Cody.
I
Fair. Don't
understand.
we
I
all?
get it. Yeah, I get it.
All right, let's piss off the fan base some more here.
Oh boy.
Liana, at one point, Billy Boyd asks Jeff, okay, I've really been liking 43. I want to go back and watch previous seasons of Survivor. Which ones should I watch? Which of the following did Jeff not suggest? So
Okay.
Jeff, he suggested 3 of these, not one
Okay.
of them. A, Micronesia. B, Philippines. C, China. D, Millennials versus Gen X.
Oh boy. Okay, so it's interesting because like I'm trying to take cues from the interview so far because he
Yeah.
didn't say Eric, right? So I'd be
Right.
like, oh, not Micronesia. Is Jeff really going to say China?
That's pretty obscure. It's right next to it too,
Right? So I'm going to go with China.
which is a shame.
It was Micronesia.
Oh, what? Really?
Are you kidding me? Are you serious right now?
Jeff, that was on Netflix. It was
does
just
he
on
have?
Netflix.
Yes, thank you. And what does he have against that season? Like, my God. Okay,
Maybe
fine,
finally.
Jeff.
Well, I think Jeff has gone softer now. He's a dad. I think now he finally feels bad for Eric. I think now he's
But he
like, we've been
recommends
beating him up.
Philippines?
So yeah,
Yeah.
so he was like, he ran them off the top of his head. He said heroes versus villains, David versus
course.
Goliath,
Of
millennials
course.
versus Gen X, Pearl Islands, China, Philippines, Cambodia.
I will
Dominic
say,
Not
Dominic
winners
Monaghan,
at war.
Dom Monahan chimes in and says Australian Outback's very good, and Jeff goes, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
this feels like those ones he just rattled off feel like he looked at possibly like the YouTubers did like a top 10 aggregate ranking, and those are like 7 of the top 10 like
Yeah.
aggregate fan base top 10 seasons, like Pearl Islands, Millennials, Gen
Yeah,
X,
but
China,
Micronesia is up there, right? Pretty. Come on, it's
Philippines.
got to be.
Oh, I would say it's like, yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
in my,
thank you. So why was that one not included? Jeff?
Where did it finish on the RHAP one? Number 5, I think it
Yeah,
was.
come on.
Did it?
Get out of here.
Micronesia. I think Micronesia were like top 3 even for the YouTubers. So it's like, but not for Jeff.
I mean, Jeff again, he's gonna go a bit off the beaten path. Listen, I'm excited for Philippines getting some love personally. So excited to see.
I'm
it.
happy you said China. That's super random though. Like, where did that come? I don't know. China.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
don't
he
know.
was going
Courtney
down
Yates
to.
fan.
He went down to Louisiana to talk
No,
to James
no,
Clement.
No.
All right,
going
let's
now.
move on here.
Just
Last
move
2
on.
questions. The tight score here, 2-1. You do
boy.
not know Jeff Probst very well
Jeff
this
is
interview.
winning.
And I'm
Jeff
not
is winning.
and I'm not making things necessarily easier here. So
Oh,
we'll go to you,
boy.
Peridium. At the end of the show, so there's a segment apparently where like the guest brings in some sort of food item for everyone to taste test and talk about. Now, this is particularly interesting, not just because it seems random AF, but because this particular item that Jeff brought in said this is the thing that gets him through the day on Survivor. That during these long, 16 to 18 hour days, this is the one thing that gets him going. What is the item that Jeff brings in to taste test on the friendship onion?
I'm so happy this is not my question.
Well, you're not going to like the next question. Liana.
No.
Oh, okay. I want to know what the multiple choice options are.
Is
So
it-
3 of these are wrong.
3 of these are wrong. 1 of these are right. Is it A, new primal jerky? Is it B? Is it B,
Is that a brand?
homemade trail mix? Is it C, RX bars? Or is it D, Blue Diamond almonds?
So this podcast brought one of these 4 things in to taste test.
Yeah, for all the misophonia people out there, yeah, definitely recommend don't listen to the end of the podcast when they get to that part. 'Cause it's them, chewing into the microphone and everything.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ASMR.
Okay. What is the appeal of that though? Like even just as a segment, like what is the appeal of listening?
I
to
don't know. They started
people
off the
taste
podcast by
test
telling a riddle that
granola
it took
bars?
that took a minute and a half. I don't know.
riddle?
They're flying purely
Okay.
blind, and I kind of love it.
Oh, right. Okay.
They literally told the
So
middle of riddle was a minute and a
that?
half, and they just moved on to an ad. It's like, wait, we're not going to
Also,
acknowledge that.
this is what Jeff uses to fuel himself. You
game
said
within a game.
throughout the seasons.
Yeah, so like he says, like, this is what helps me get through the day, right? Like this is the thing that gives me the energy to get through.
Okay.
So basically, it's jerky, trail mix, RX bars, aka those like nutritional bars, or almonds.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the last
ours-
2 are like brand name.
Yeah.
So
I know.
new
I've-
Does that
primal
matter?
jerky, new primal jerky is also a brand name.
So 3 brand name, 1 non-brand name. So
I
you
know,
have
I
to take
thought-
that into consideration.
I was thinking possibly trail mix because that seems like a decent thing to get you through the day. I think that would work for me. Almonds are yummy. I don't know if that would work for me, but and then RX bar, I don't even know for sure what that is. I don't know. I mean, I guess
I mean,
energy
you can
bars
look
and-
you can look it up if you want to.
Yeah, hold on.
You-
Let me just
you've
look up
se-
the podcast and listen. What was
Yeah,
the
you-
time?
you've
Yeah,
seen
what was
the-
your
You've seen the packaging on RX bars. They're the ones
Yeah,
that list
sure.
all the
I think I
ingredients
get
of
it.
like
It's like 2
three-
egg
three-
whites,
Yeah,
5 almonds.
Oh,
8
those
dates.
things.
yeah. Those are
okay.
RX bars.
They're fine.
Interesting. I've never had that. The ones I see have almonds in them. I kind of want to say RX bars. But my gut says the right answer, which will be the trail mix.
This time, your gut is incorrect. You are right. It was RX
Oh, I got it
bars.
right.
Yay! Oh no,
Nice.
wait, no, boo.
Boo.
Yes, it was
We're tied
RX
now.
bars.
Down to the
It's
wire.
interesting. The way, Liana, that you read the recipe kind of sounds like the way that Jeff talks in challenges, right? Of like,
Yeah.
3 egg whites,
3 egg whites.
2 almonds, 1 RX bar.
No, BS. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was on the one I see on Google.
All right, Liana, this is all on you. It's tied 2-2.
Okay.
The last question. Jeff finishes the podcast by recalling a story. Back in 2001, he had filmed a small movie. Survivor was just taking off, and he wasn't entirely sure what he was doing. This is finder's fee. I bring this because all the people listed in the multiple choice options are going to be people that were in that movie. But he filmed this movie. It was 2001. Survivor had just taken off, but he didn't know what to do. This actor gave him a call and said, "Let's go hike Runyon Canyon together. I want to talk with you." And told Jeff Probst to, quote, "ride the Survivor wave until you hit the sand." Who was that actor?
This is all over the place.
Was it
I'm
A?
sorry. So this was an actor who was in Finder's Fee, which was a
Yes.
movie with Jeff and these other actors. But specifically, this actor is the one who ran with him in Runyon Canyon, who told him to ride Survivor till you hit the sand.
That's correct.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah? Okay. All right,
Yep.
good. Glad
and
I
so-
understand the complication.
And let me also mention, again, for those that are not in the know, Finder's Fee, he wasn't in it. This is a written and directed Jeff Probst film from 2001.
I didn't know he
Oh.
directed it. Oh, wow.
Good. Okay.
And which is
Changes
available on Redbox and Plex for free, and also
Sure.
Tubi apparently. So maybe I'll watch it and do a quiz for one of our future B&B episodes. So was it A, Ryan Reynolds, B, Robert Forster, C, James Earl Jones, D, Matthew Lillard?
This is like a Big Brother or Final 3 HOH. Just totally random. Who knows? I don't know.
Okay. So I'm going to rule out James Earl Jones just because the sight of him jogging up Runyon
Okay.
Canyon with Jeff Probst just breaks my brain. So I'm going to eliminate that one. What were the other ones? Ryan Reynolds, who, and Matthew Lillard?
Ryan Reynolds, Robert Forster, and Matthew Lillard.
I don't know, dude.
That's why I said you should have been biting your tongue when you said you were happy you didn't get the RX bar
Yeah,
question.
I know, right? I should have asked for the snacks. Fine. D.
Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
I could see that.
Rut-row. That's incorrect.
Is it Matthew?
B.
Whatever.
Robert. No, it was Robert
Robert.
Forster, surprisingly. Old,
yeah.
wizened
So
actor.
close.
Gave Jeff a call and he said, there was one day where I had a movie that bombed. I didn't work for 25 years until this script fell across my table. I don't want that to happen to you. Essentially, it was like ride the hot hand, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
make
yeah,
sure
yeah.
whatever you do, don't do your own talk show. It won't.
Yeah,
it won't be
definitely
well.
Don't do that. It won't be successful. All right, so we're tied now. What do we do?
All right.
Fight for it.
Here's okay. Let's do this. I'll do it nice and simple. You mentioned Big Brother.
Oh.
Let's math here. Write down, each of you, the number in minutes that the interview, the whole podcast lasted from beginning to end. Closest, even
I don't
without
have
going
anywhere
over.
to
Closest
write.
going over is included.
on
Ends
my
up winning
phone.
here. So the number of minutes that the entire podcast lasted from beginning to end. Just as a quick reminder, there are 60 minutes in an
My
hour.
pen's not working.
And you said you wanted the minutes or the what?
The
What
minutes.
number? One of the minutes.
I mean, I guess if you want to write like an hour and however many minutes, you can do that as well. However you want to be fancy with it. Or you could be like Rachel Swindler, right? And like do the entire math
Okay.
on the side.
I got it.
All right. Pretty you good?
Yeah, I have it on my notes app.
Okay. Liana, what number did you write down?
I said 93 minutes and 69 seconds.
Oh wait,
That
if
Which
you
I
go
know
over,
doesn't actually, but makes it.
All right. So we're going to say an
94,
hour 34 minutes for Liana.
Sure.
wow, I said 95 minutes. I just read
An hour
95.
35 for Peridium. So you unintentionally did the Price is Right sniping of the $1 above, and it was a valid strategy because it was an hour 36.
Damn
What?
it! No! Are you kidding me?
I hope you guys can
No!
see that. I can't see on my phone, but oh man.
I was so close.
Oh, I can't see it. It's big and white.
It's
But
just
yeah.
a big white blob. Oh, you
Ah.
were both I thought Liana had it. I really
That's
did.
crazy.
Well, because you said an hour and a half, so I was like, okay, so I know it's at least an hour and a half.
Oh, now you listen.
Yeah, now I listen. The one
All right.
time it does matter.
I DM'd you on Twitter, so now you guys can see for sure.
All right, we have photographic evidence.
Wait,
It's
let
a
me
photograph. It's a beautiful photo. It says 95.
Yeah, it just says 95. Like
Could have added that last
Yeah,
second.
now we need Peridium taken out of context.
Not
All right.
95.
Well, congratulations. I mean, again, as you said, the true winner is Jeff Probst and perhaps RX
Yeah.
bars at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to listen to that, although that sounds infuriating to hear. But all these answers.
Hey, it's a crisp 96 minutes and 45
Yeah.
seconds if you want to check it out. It's also available on YouTube if you want a visual of it, and the RX bars included. So congratulations to Peridium. I'll keep the spotlight on you right now. You know the drill. Every week, our guests, we get the opportunity to highlight a charity or cause that is important to them. What have you got for the listeners this week?
I say the same place I've said. I used to volunteer at an SPCA, which is adopting animals. That's where I got my cat. So for anyone out there, adopt, don't shop. I don't know if you guys shopped ever, but that's okay. I'll still be your friend. But
I
would
barter for
recommend-
everything.
Both
You
adopt.
barter. Yeah, I would adopt. So I recommend that. Unfortunately, my family all shop, but oh well, it can only go so far. But yeah, I would always recommend SPCA. I obviously have my local SPCA, but if you have one in your area, keep that on your radar in the event that you want to get an animal in your family.
Absolutely. And just know that will eventually lead to, tragically losing that pet. And there is a guy for that. His name is Sammy.
Oh
Yeah,
my
sure.
God, not the Shih Tzu in the
just-
oven or whatever.
Hello, how are you?
Leaning against the
the oven.
yeah,
Oh my god!
horrible. You're the worst.
Somebody Photoshop that now.
Well, Peridium, thank you as always for coming on here and subjecting yourself to some wild
Yeah.
torment, but also having a lot of fun along the way. It's always so great to get to talk Survivor with you. Of course, this is certainly not the first or last opportunity people can hear your lovely voice talking about Survivor, including Survivor 43. If people have not yet been pointed to your lovely channel on YouTube, how can they check that out?
Type in youtube.com if you've never heard of it. Peridiam, Peridium. It's a strange word, and I will always remember the first time I ever spoke to Mike. He introduced me, and I think he said the wrong name. He said
I called you Per Diem.
Yes, I will always
Not
remember that.
per diem. Oh my God, I have a $10 per diem.
Yep. So that's how you can find me. I am on Twitter at Billy Geist. That's my real name. And I also have a Patreon if you want to support me, if you like me enough to open your wallet. But yeah, that's it.
Send him RX bars. Have him do a taste test for the patrons.
Yes.
Sure.
Just no BS review. All right. Well,
I'll
Liana,
get
I
back
know
on
you're...
Twitch. That'll be it.
All right, Liana,
Yes.
I know you're up to a lot of BS when it comes to podcasting that we
always.
absolutely love in every way, shape, and form. What are you talking about? I know the Fox train has been righted.
Oh my God. Yeah, they finally decide to air their own content. So thankfully that happened. So Masked Singer aired. Pooey and I recorded an episode covering episode 4, I think. So that was really fun. And then they also aired Lego Masters. So my sister and I got together to talk about episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Lego Masters. All about that. So those are both in the RHAP Ups feed if you're interested.
So Lego Master is good, by the way. I loved Legos as a kid.
It's...
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Cool. That's cool.
It's fun. It's good. It's
Okay.
good.
Will Arnett, I think you need, if you're in with the way that he does things, you'll like the show.
I liked him in Arrested Development.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the way he does...
It's a lot of fun puns, a lot of like very kitschy kind of hosting.
Okay.
It's very sticky.
But it's also, if you care about the way that reality TV shows are edited, it's very obvious. So that's my only problem with it. But everyone else, like my whole family that watches it, they're like, "Oh my God, it's so fun! I love the show." So
Okay.
No, it's a really fun, like, put it on in the background almost, or just like check out the really cool designs that these very talented people are making. So
It's like that
Oh,
cake
yeah.
show, the cake cutting one.
Yeah, a little
where they were
bit.
Like, what's one? Is that cake or whatever?
yeah, is it cake?
is that cake?
Is it cake?
Is that cake? I mean, the people that are on the show are absolutely talented, like amazingly talented, can build things
Cool.
that I would never even conceive of, like the way they use Legos to make these super cool designs. Like I would never question that. It's just like, the way the whole
Yeah.
thing is kind of put together.
Okay.
It's like very telegraphed. but
Yeah,
it's
I get
still
it.
good. It's still fun.
Cool.
We got to interview the judges, and they were
Yeah.
amazing people to talk
Ooh.
to. And I think the way that they judge the show also is so cool. So that holds up really well.
Yeah, I believe, doesn't Amy talk like Boston Rob?
Yeah. You want to do an accent, Mike? Because you're
I
so...
think I'll leave it be for now.
not Irish accent.
All right, so yeah, if you can follow me at a Mike Bloom type, I mentioned this before. I have my interview with Gio up, which was really fun. He obviously had a lot of thoughts that I talked about before in terms of the real reason Lindsay targeted him, pretty savage move, the fight that he had with Cassidy, his reaction to both the good and bad things about his edit. Really fun conversation. And then the Amazing Race got together with Rob and Jess to talk about the first ever visit of the Amazing Race to Jordan. Prettium, when the TV flips on at 10 p.m. after you're in your coma for 60 minutes, what have you been thinking about this season of the Amazing Race so far?
My wife has actually turned into a bigger fan than I have. She might even have more opinions than I do on it, but I've enjoyed it for the most part. I kind of lose the plot at some point right now with The Amazing Race. I honestly don't have too many strong opinions on it. This is gonna sound weird. I am looking for a root for Derek X and Claire. Yeah, that's it.
No,
I'm pretty casual. I don't make videos on Amazing Race, so I kind of just sink into my sofa.
I would also say though that like from what I have gleaned, like the opinions from the en masse of Survivor 43 and Amazing Race 34 are like not entirely dissimilar. Where it's like
Okay.
good, not great. Like
Fine.
some memorable people, some not so memorable people. You know, a
Yeah.
bit sameness, but overall, definitely a fun time recapping it with Rob and Jess. And I had a really fun time on the exit interview this week as well with the most recently eliminated team. So you can check that out. Post-show recaps is where it's all happening. The aforementioned Rings of Power has finished, covering that with DM Philly. And House of the Dragon is going to be concluding tomorrow night. I'm covering that with Grace Leader as we kick off a long week of not only finale coverage, but surely, much like a Dragon proper, a long tail of subsequent coverage as well. Just random odds and ends about the season. Also covering heroes and some other things that may come about. We just did the big 2-year anniversary for the Patreon program 24-hour stream where Grace Leader and I did a brand steal of the shows, not the characters from the shows, but the shows proper playing as Survivor players. It was a lot of fun. It was a very, very fun time. So yes, we have gone that obscure. Be sure to check that out if you're a fan of the brand steal and you're a patron of post-show recaps. So that's going to do it for this week on the BB. Thank you all for tuning in here and hopefully listening more than Liana has to a big chonky edition of the B&B, 2+ hours, as we're gearing ourselves up for whatever the hell's coming next week. So guest TBD on that as well, and twist TBD to see what exactly is going to come. Will one person go? Will 2 people go? Will no people go? I have absolutely no idea. But in the season that is now the equivalent of Suri crossing the balance beam, we shall see what happens on the other side. If you have any game ideas, send them in. RHAPBNB@gmail.com or hashtag RHAPBNB. We accept any and all ideas. And we shall never go back to that geography idea ever again.
Yeah, no.
I enjoyed it.
No,
Kinda.
you didn't. No, you didn't, Prettium. Never again.
Special
You'll be
thanks,
gone. I have to play again.
special thanks to Scott St. Pierre for editing everything behind the scenes. One from America for his fantastic theme song. Prettium, thank you as always for coming on. Liana, fantastic work as per usual. Next week, we'll be back with someone talking about something on Survivor 43. Until then, we'll check you out at your next stay.